Good afternoon, brothers. How you guys doing? Hope you're all well. Thanks for tuning in. Nice to see you all. Quite a lot of people here already, so that's nice. Awesome. Roadkill, Mike, Carrie, Jonathan, Stephen, Highland. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you all? Please give me a shout out in the chat if you can hear me okay. We are on a different microphone tonight, so appreciate that. And if you're new to the show, then we are here live every Sunday. It's 4 p.m. an hour difference today, I guess, because of daylight savings time. But thank you for that, Carrie. So here we are nonetheless, and in the show we always go over 5 army lists, and today's army lists are submitted by 5 of our community members. Typically we do like 2 or 3 lists from like channel members, and then 2 or 3 lists from non-members. So today we've got 2 member lists, Highland and Mark, and then we've got 3 non-member lists, Julian, Same, and Thomas. Cool, so we're going to be diving into those lists in just a minute. But before we get started, I guess there's 2 things to tell you about. The first thing is, if you're new to the channel, the Vox is clear, thank you. Thank you for following To Hit to Wound. If you're new to the channel, I guess you can follow us over on Twitch, as To Hit to Wound just did as well. But on YouTube, I really appreciate if you consider following the channel here. And then if you want to submit your list to be reviewed essentially in a future show, because the lists are just submitted by community members, it's very simple. All you got to do is come into the Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel, you click over on the community tab, and in the community tab just find the latest community post. In this case it's this one, asking like what video you guys want me to make next. Just hit the comment section here and just dump your army list in here from like Battlescribe or the Games Workshop app, however you have your army list, just in some sort of text format that I can read nice and simply, and then I'll add you to the list. The queue for members at the moment is around 3 weeks. The queue for non-members is quite a bit more. I think it's around 10 weeks. But we do 5 lists every week, so we will get to you eventually. And I guess even if your list isn't getting reviewed super quickly, hopefully just by watching the show and seeing like what we discuss will help you learn a lot as well about Blood Angels and creating army lists. And now that my current list is actually starting to pick up a bit of a win streak, I will make a video on my win streak. I'll make a video on my list once it's won a few more games, but I'm feeling pretty good about my list. And what else is coming up soon on the channel is tomorrow we have a live game against Sisters of Battle that's coming up at 7:30 UK time tomorrow. So again, that'll be 1 hour difference from 7:30 last week just because of daylight savings. And then coming up on Tuesday, we're actually looking at a competitive list. So like a list that placed 3rd in a tournament just very recently. I think it was a grand tournament, I need to check. But we've got that coming out on the channel on Tuesday. So quite a lot of Blood Angels content coming out in the next few days. And yeah, one other thing that I was going to say is I didn't realise this, I haven't really been telling people, so this is the last bit of announcement before we get into today's show. When you're actually on the Blood Angels Commander channel, when you are subscribed at the top of a channel, you get this little bell icon. I've never really talked about the bell before, but if you click the bell, you can actually choose to get all the notifications from a channel. So if you choose to get all the notifications, then you'll actually get notified like as a push notification on your phone whenever we go live for a stream or whenever we upload a new video. So I guess if you haven't clicked the bell on the Blood Angels Commander channel, I can't click the bell on my own channel. So this is one of my friends' channels. But yeah, click on the bell, click on all, and then I guess if we ever go live for an army show or anything like that, then you will 100% get notified, and you won't miss the start of the stream or anything. How much of a win streak is it? It's only 2 games, Mark. Very funny, but give me a few more weeks and we'll get it up to a decent win streak, right? I think I might be able to play a game on Saturday next week as well, so we'll see. It shouldn't take long. Cool. Okay, so the lists for today, and the first list is going to be by Highland Phoenix, and we're going to put his name up here in the top right hand corner of the screen, so you can see. If you ever have to come back and watch the stream on a replay, you'll be able to see what list we're looking at. And after the stream, I always post the 5 lists from the live show into the comment section as well. So if you if you missed the stream and you want to catch up on any of the lists, you can get them out of the comment section on YouTube afterwards. So that's cool. Afternoon Dolph, how you doing? And afternoon Gitley and Adam and Canis. Quite a few people filtering in. So, okay, awesome. So I think we're ready to start on the first list. And periodically through the stream, I will take questions from chat. Like, I won't answer every single question that's mentioned in chat. But if it's relevant or if it's a question that I can answer where I am, then I will answer questions in chat. And also, all the guys in with the green names in chat are channel members and they're pretty much veterans. So if you have a question in chat and you ask it, if you get a reply from someone with a green name, then you're probably going to get a pretty good answer. Cool. Alright, we can canter through mine. As there only tweaks to previous. What's up, Steel Rain? Hello, how you doing? Alright, so High Blood Angels Commander, as discussed in the last stream, there are two alternative lists I have for inclusion of either a Vindicator Laser Destroyer or Ironclads. And just to start you may remember my original list, which was a single battalion, Chaplain with a jump pack, Sangri Priest with a jump pack, Librarian with a jump pack, the Champion, the Sangria Guard, the Death Company, Relic Terminators, Intercessors, Incursors and Cursors, Bikes. Oh yeah, you ran the Bike Squad in the Tap Bike that I don't often run. Okay, so that was your list before. But I had to think about the firepower situation after recent discussions, and I've come up with two version 5.5 alternatives. I love how you increment your versions. I'm on like version 12 of my list at the moment, but I love that people do that. One featuring two laser destroyers and one a unit I'm liking more and more, two Ironclad Dreadnoughts. Now we can get them. They make up for the Furioso and DC Dreads being a bit meh. Okay, both alternative lists would play slightly different to my original list, with more units starting on the board, including using the Librarian's Psychic Fortress ability to protect either the Laser Destroyers or the Ironclads. Yeah, I mean, Psychic Fortress is pretty useful for protecting armour. I'm going to probably use it to help protect my Redemptors in the game against Sisters of Battle this week. Both Ironclads now feature a Primaris Tech Marine to use as Awaken on the Mean Sheen Spirit ability, especially for the Laser Destroyers. I mean, the Laser Destroyers with a Tech Marine seems like it would make a lot of sense. Also, he can repair. And then, in the case of the Ironclad list, his Master of the Forge repair and his Warden of the Ancient ability, why not? I guess Warden of the Ancient feels like a lower value pick because it's just +1 attack. And I mean, the additional strength doesn't really help us because we already have that +1 to wound. So due to not needing troops in both lists, I have save points to make the Incursor unit now Infiltrators for the more defensive Omni Scrambler or Bubbles to help protect the tanks or dreads. And in the case of the Ironclads list, one of the 10-man Infiltrator units with Helix Gauntlets for a single tough unit, or the survivability to, or the ability to combat the squad if required. Both lists, I've had to remove the following from original list: the Bikes, the Intercessors, 2 of the Champion Vets, and changing weapons to Lightning Claws and Shields for the remaining 2, a Death Company, a Sangri Guard weapon, etc. But I've managed to keep the original feel and key units of the version 5 list, other than the Bikes, which is what I intended, but overall I think I'd be happy to run any of the lists. Alright, so we're probably going to jump into both lists here and try and figure out just exactly which is stronger and why. If I'm being uber competitive, I would like to switch the Death Company and Relics to Vanguard Vets with jump packs and Storm Shields and Lightning Claws, but I like the former models a lot. Yeah, I mean, I guess the Relic Terminators, it's hard to say. Relic Terminators are probably not bad at all, but I guess Vanguard Vets maybe are a little bit better because of the maneuverability. I mean, I'm using some Blade Guard Veterans, so I mean, they're kind of the same as Relic Terminators almost. Both lists use even more CP pre-game to do to the extra attachments, so I could remove a couple of the Heroes of the Chapter and Relics of the Chapter and Angel Ascendant choices to gain up to 3 CP back in both lists. I'll leave those choices in for now, but appreciate comments on the CP situation. All thoughts and comments appreciated. Yes, alright, cool. So, this list looks to pop Transports, Tanks, Dreads, Monsters, Elites with the Laser Destroyers and the Tech Marine, and with the Infiltrators flanking them on objectives. The Chapter Champion and Vets could be used to protect the Laser Destroyers from charging threats or sit on objectives. The rest of the list is functional as normal, jumping up the board or deep striking. Okay, there's a lot to take in here, so let's get into it. Can you turn the music down? I can't hear you. I take it you're trolling me because I don't have any music playing. Okay. For a minute I was like, what music? Cool. So, Chaplain with the jump pack. He has the Crozius and the Infernal Pistol. He is the Master of Sanctity. He has Canticle of Hate and Mantra of Strength. And he's a Wise Orator. And he has an Icon of the Angel. And he has the Adamantium Mantle. Okay. I'm wondering why you took Adamantium Mantle over Gift of Foresight. But I guess we'll get into that. We then have a Sangri Priest, who is the Selfless Healer, a very standard pick, the Sangri Priest is the Selfless Healer, 5-man Infiltrator Squad, and then the elites that don't count. So basically these are free units, they don't take an organisational slot. We have the Company Champion, who has been giving the Champion of Humanity and the Shield Eternal. Champion of Humanity seems like it's probably a low value pick on the chapter champion, right? Highland, because the chapter champion already gets bonuses when he attacks against heroes, right? Each time this model makes a melee attack against enemy character, you can reroll the wounds. Oh right, so you could reroll hits and wounds? I mean... Oh no. Sorry, he can re-roll the wounds and you already get +1 to wound. Yeah, I mean, maybe. It might be better to just take Imperium Sword here. I guess there's probably arguments for both. Imperium Sword probably makes him more all-round. But Champion of Humanity, if you're convinced you can get him in against enemy characters, that's good. It's worth noting that when we math hammered the Armour Indomitus on this guy, the Armour Indomitus actually performed better against a lot of things than the Shield Eternal, but I guess the Shield Eternal gives you a feel no pain, I guess, if he's going to get hit with mortal wounds, so I guess you have to factor that in. We then have the two guys, the Sergeant and his buddy with Lightning Claws, that's fine, and then this is a 7 Sangri Priest, or 7 Sangri Guard, all axes, and 1 Power Fist. I'd probably change that Power Fist out for Infernal Pistol unless you're dead set on the Power Fist. The extra +1 you're going to get on your wound rolls with the Power Fist is probably going to be nullified by the fact that it's -1 to hit, so it might be better to just take an Infernal Pistol here. And then we have the Whirlwind with the Castellan Launcher. Afternoon Cry check, how you doing? And then Patrol 2, so this is a patrol detachment, so we basically capped ourselves at 4 elites. We have the Librarian with the Jump Pack, Foresight Infernal Pistol, Chief Librarian, Null Zone, Veil of Time, Psychic Fortress, which seems fine, Primaris Marine, Forge Bolter, Servo Arm, etc. And he's... alright, so he's been given the Armour Indomitus. Marines already save on 2 pluses though, right? So like you're just giving him the Armour Indomitus for +1 wound, I guess, and then potentially that 3+ save every now and then, or once per game. I'm not sure if you'd be better off taking Iron Resolve then on the Primaris Marine, like if you're just trying to make him more survivable, because I guess half of the Armour Indomitus is wasted because Marines already save on 2s. Question mark, I guess. Then you've got your Infiltrator Squad for your second patrol detachment. We have an 8-man Death Company, 2 Thunderhammers, Axe, Chainsword, Chainsword. The Relic Terminators, which are Grenade Harmus, Chain Fist, Quake Bolts, Chain Fist. Alright, it's a pretty nasty squad of Chain Fists here. Chain Fists on Relic Terminators are what, damage-wise? D3 or something? I don't actually know. Chain Fists. Is it Terminator Chain Fist? No, just Chain Fist. So they're D3 and then a flat 3 against vehicles. Okay. And then you've got your 2 Laser Destroyers, which come in at 180 points, and I guess these things cost 1 CP to bring them. But the Laser Destroyer is kind of awesome. Hello Martin, thanks for tuning in. How you doing? So if anyone doesn't know the stats for the Laser Destroyer, then, because they aren't actually in the Space Marine book, right? So, do you know what? We'll just pull them up on screen so anyone that doesn't know the stats can see the stats. And I do plan on doing a video on the Laser Destroyer soon. I mean, it was it was Highland Phoenix himself that was telling me like we should look at a laser destroyer because they're generally pretty strong. So yeah, let me pull up the stats for the laser destroyer real quick. Oh yeah, it's not laser destroyer. It's Vindicator laser destroyer, of course. Page. I can't see it. Oh, page 29. Okay. I can just type in 29 here. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Vindicator laser destroyer. Okay, so the Vindicator laser destroyer is definitely strong. The strength behind it, really, for a 180 point tank, it can do a lot of damage. The strength behind it, I guess, is it can do flat 6 damage, or it can do D3 plus 3, which is already great. You know, D3 plus 3 is an average of a 5 damage hit. So if you just use volley fire, you're strength 9 minus 3, 5 damage. And if you use overcharge fire, you're basically strength 10 minus 4, 5 damage. So there's not a huge difference. However, if you move and then go for overcharge fire, you suffer 1 mortal wound essentially for each roll of 1 when you're firing. But usually, if you think about it this way, usually when you're wounding an enemy, toughness 9 is usually going to be able, or strength 9 is usually going to wound them on 3s, so strength 10 is probably going to wound them on 3s as well. The -1 may make a difference against armor saves, but I think with -3 most people are going to get either pushed on to saving on 6s or like saving on their invulnerable save anyway. So it's a pretty interesting tank. It is a toughness 8 tank as well, so for 180 points it has good reliability, and I guess if you have the Tech Marine there, then yeah, I mean if you have the Tech Marine you can afford to you'll hit on 2s essentially, because the Tech Marine buffs the ballistic skill of one of the tanks to 2s. So every turn you get 6 shots that potentially do a flat 5 or 6 damage, and that can just wreck enemy armor. And the fact that these things have toughness 8 means they're difficult to kill in return. Like even melta-guns are going to have some problems with them. So yeah. But I suppose the interesting thing is these things. Oh, do these not have martial legacy? Did I miss that? Huh. I assumed that these would have martial legacy like the other tanks, where you had to pay 1 CP to include them in your army. You do not have to pay any CP to include these in your army. So actually, they're actually stronger than I thought they were. So a regular Vindicator comes in at what? Regular Vindicator is... I probably need to buy a Vindicator Laser Destroyer next, don't I? Regular Vindicator is 130 points. I guess you can throw the Siege Shield on it to give it a 2-up save. So you're 50 points more expensive, but you get much more reliability for your points, right? Whereas a Vindicator is D6 shots and then D6 damage. This is just sort of, you're paying for that sort of guaranteed damage. And it seems to be generally very nice. What do people use to make their lists? Yeah, Battlescribe is very popular. A lot of people submit their lists on Battlescribe, but the Games Workshop app can do it as well. I guess the difference, Dolph, is Battlescribe is free. And for a free program, yeah, I think it's great. So you always take the Hunter Killer Miss. I was going to say, I just closed that. Can they take Hunter Killer missiles? Did I miss that? Page 29. Oh, and it can take a Hunter Killer missile as well. So I guess you can just, in that first turn, you can just add a little bit more punch to it with an extra shot. So 10-inch move, toughness 8, and a lot of damage for the points. I mean, if you compare these up against like a Redemptor Dreadnought, I guess, because that's the same sort of 180 points. These guys, they're a bit more glass cannon than Redemptor, right? Bit easier to kill probably, less wounds, no duty eternal. I mean, they do have +1 toughness, but in terms of like the raw firepower they put out, it's pretty nasty. And I guess Highland's thing, you just always overcharge it, so you get maximum amount of damage out of it, which is pretty cool. A regular Vindy, all going well on average, causes almost as much damage, but relies on dice rolls if lucky. And I guess Psychic Fortress is a good choice to basically protect these and give them like a reliable 5+ invulnerable save as well. With the Tech Marine next to them, you can probably bring them back. Like a couple of wounds per turn as well. So I'm tempted to drop the Sangri Priest and run a second Primaris Tech Marine to awaken the second Laser Destroyer, both hitting on 2s. Not much will be able to stand against it, just hopefully there's enough of terrain to start behind if you don't get to go first. So do you have enough that makes the Primaris Tech Marine worth it? The Primaris Tech Marine? No. The Sangri Priest with a jump pack worth it, I guess, is the question. So in the backfield, you have your 2 Laser Destroyers and you have your Tech Marine. And then you maybe have like a squad of Infiltrators. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you might be better taking like some sort of damage character, like a Librarian Dreadnought or something, like something that can just go in and do like a serious amount of smash power. Because I'm not sure, for me anyway, because I was obviously running the list that had the Tech Marine and the tanks and all that sort of stuff, and like, what is this, like 360 points? Primaris Tech Marine's only 80, I thought. Oh right, because you didn't take Master of the Forge. Okay, so 450 points. Yeah, do you know what? You do have enough to get value out of your priest. You've got those Terminators, you've got the Sangri Priest. Sorry, you've got the Sangri Guard. It's an interesting list. It's got a lot of firepower. It kind of plays a bit like the super heavy tank list that I was playing, right? Like, the enemy has to deal with the Vindicators. They cannot sit and let those Vindicators shoot for the whole game, because every turn they will just delete things off the map. Those sort of laser destroyer cannons against rhinos are super effective. Like, they'll just kill a rhino from full health. Almost guaranteed to kill a rhino from full health. Because if the rhino makes a couple of saves, and that's if it even gets a save, in turn 1 with the -4 or the -5, like, the rhino's not going to get a save. So as long as you hit and wound the rhino, you're just going to kill it straight away. So you're going to be able to kill transports sort of straight away with those laser destroyers. And then, yeah, I don't know if I would go I don't know if I would go more in. Like, I don't think I would drop the priest and try and go more in on the laser destroyers, because there is lists where, like, the enemy could, like, Iron Hands with drop pods. Like, when I played against that guy that had the Iron Hands with drop pods, he had like two Devastator squads and 2 separate drop pods, and he just dropped them in. And I guess, like, let me think about this and do some very quick math, right? Like, if an Iron Hands player drops in with a Cherub and he's got a Devastator squad, then he's essentially got 10 shots, right? And he's Iron Hands, so they don't count as moving and shooting in heavy doctrine, and they get to reroll 1s as well. So they get 6 shots hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. So that's basically like 6 times about 7.5%. So that's not 6 times 0.75. So that's 4.5 shots, and then the other 4 shots hit on 2s, rerolling 1s. So 4.5 shots plus. So you're probably going to be, the Iron Hands player can probably make 8 hits. What do? They wound the Vindicators on 4s, so basically 4 wounds. So on average, he's going to have hit your Vindicator 4 times. Your Vindicator's not going to get a save, because multi-melt is from Iron Hands, and turn 1 will be -5. So then he's just going to roll 4d6 damage against your Vindicator. Potentially he could be within half range as well if he dropped in. So I mean, like, the Vindicator's only got 11 wounds, and he's got 2 of those drop pods, the list I played up against, right? So if you went 2 Primaris Tech Marines and then in the first turn you potentially lose one or two of the Vindicators, that could be very difficult to deal with. The 4d6 damage with a potential +8 from multi-meltas if they were within half range, that there's a question mark there, I guess. So yeah, I think I usually recommend like 400 to 500 points of shooting, right, in a Blood Angels list, and I guess the two Vindicators plus the Tech Marine kind of fill that out. I mean, the Tech Marine does have his Forge Bolter as well, which is like a heavy bolter. There's Assault, and yeah, so what are you starting with? -8 CP. Why -8? Because you've got 2 patrols, so that's going to cost you 2. You've got Angel's Exemplar, Hero of the Chapter, a Relic of the Chapter, that's 5. Special Issue War Gear, that's 6. I'm missing something. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, and you put 2 on the company champion as well. Okay, so it is a 5 HQ list, right? And I recently played a 5 HQ list, and the one thing I want to say about playing a 5 HQ list to be or 5 character list rather, Highland, is just watch out for the Assassinate, right? Because like if you have 5 characters, then potentially you open the door to give the opponent a good way to score points with Assassinate. 4 CP is sort of like the lowest I'd be happy to start with. I've been starting games with 4 recently, and it feels like any lower would be risky. Previously I was starting games with 5, and 5 and then getting the 1 at the very start of the game, so starting the game on 6 seemed okay, but I think you can get away with 4. You might feel a little bit starved at certain points, but yeah, I think you can get away with 4. I mean, if you had to drop something, I'd probably end up dropping that Indomitus Armor on the Primaris Tech Marine. I think I'd probably do that anyway. I don't think you're getting great value out of it, and I assume that you deploy the Tech Marine within 3 inches of the Vindicators, so the enemy can't shoot him anyway. So with clever placement, as long as he's not the closest target to the enemies, then they'll never be able to shoot him anyway. Alright, so let's jump into list 2, and then we'll just look at the difference, and then we'll score one of these lists. So alternative list, we still have the Chaplain, we still have the Priest, we still have the Infiltrators and the Sangri Guard, so the first patrol doesn't really change, I guess. And then the second patrol, we're taking 2 Ironclad Dreadnoughts, and I think that's the only difference here. I guess... What did you say? The list looks to surge towards the middle with the Ironclads, Terminators, Infiltrators. I prefer your first list, honestly. I like the Ironclad Dreadnought. I think it's strong, and I think it's great in combat, but I think... Oh, you've got more Hunter Killer Missiles on here as well. I think that... I think you get more value out of having that sort of balanced list where you do have some really nasty shooting that needs dealt with, right? And in some ways, these Vindicator Laser Destroyers are a little bit like Eradicators or attack bikes, right? Starting with 4 CP, what would you deem as necessary to save them for? Well, I mean, like in the early game, you can do stuff like Smokescreen, Transhumans, you can interrupt close combats, like... I mean, any stratagem, Angel's Sacrifice, there's loads of stratagems, Stefan, that you might want to have some CP for. And I think, if you start with 4, then you have 9 throughout the course of the game. Even like a commandery roll to try and save like someone on an armor save or something like that. I think I wouldn't go any lower than 4, and I think 4 is pushing it, but I think you can make 4 work. Okay, so yeah, I prefer the first list. I mean, I would like... If you want to run the Ironclads, by all means, but I guess I would feel like if I was going to run the Ironclads, we need to drop something else to put some shooting back in. And I think having the shooting, right, like in my list, I'm running 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, and I'm running 3 attack bikes with multi-meltas. And it just gives you... It gives you options, and it gives the enemy targets. You know, like quite often when you're as a Blood Angels player, the enemy is going to go after your close combat units. And I guess we saw that in my game against the Custodes last week, where like the enemy really went after my close combat units because the enemies know the Blood Angels close combat units are very decent, right? And it's very difficult to kill them. And what that meant was, like, at the end of the game, I had basically in the final turn, what was it? I had 2 Redemptors left alive, and I had 3 attack bikes left alive. You know, so if they're going to focus down your melee stuff, and then they're going to leave in my case, you know, they're going to leave 3 multi-meltas and like 2 heavy plasma cannons and that. They're just going to leave them for the whole game. Then, I mean, the way I see that is a win, right? Because you'll be able to do a lot of damage with those. Yeah, I mean, I get that they've got hunter-killer missiles and they can do something, but I just don't think it's reliable, right? The thing with the hunter-killer missiles is you could shoot them both at the same target, and you could leave a target on the enemy with like a few wounds, but you've got nothing to come in and finish it off with. And I guess, again, against the Custodes, which I played against last week, you know, in the previous game we left 2 Dreadnoughts alive, one with 1 wound, one with 2 wounds, and it absolutely it killed me really badly because we just didn't have enough firepower to finish them off. So that's the danger I think you get with this second idea. But the first idea seems solid, and I would run that first idea, and I would probably, yeah, I mean, my big question is, I'd probably lose the Shield Eternal on this champion and give him the Armor Indomitus, and then go from there, because Armor Indomitus on this guy gives him a 1+ save, makes him very weak, very strong against small arms fire. He doesn't have a ton of wounds, so that helps him a lot. I changed the hammers to Chain Fists and Combat Fists for damage 6. Yeah, I mean, I think the Chain Fists on the Ironclads are better than the hammers as well. I mean, the hammers are good, don't get me wrong, but the Chain Fists, you know, sort of averaging 4 to 6 damage are very, very strong as well. So, cool. Okay, yeah, let's score the list and let's see how we get on. Oh, crap! I didn't bring. I didn't fill out my list sheet today. I am an idiot. Alright, bear with me just 1 second. Okay, and it's Highland Phoenix. Alright, so OBSEC objective wise, I guess like you do have 2 troop units, and they are both infiltrators. So I mean, they're generally very good at OBSEC, they're generally very good at denying. You do have laser destroyers again, which could help sit on objectives on the backfield. So I think all objective holding is probably like something like fine. I think it's like an 8.5 or something. Anti-horde / infantry. I guess the laser destroyers don't give you too much against those horde-based armies. So we're relying on like the bolt guns from our Sangri Guard, the bolt or the storm bolters from our relic Terminators. So those are a little bit weaker, and I guess we're getting some firepower out from our infiltrators, but it's not all that much. So maybe it's like an 8 or something in here. We then, I suppose, would be looking at yeah, I mean, I guess you've got the Whirlwind in there as well. The Whirlwind is good against, you know what, we'll give you an extra 0.5 for the Whirlwind. It's great against those hordes, but hordes with low armor saves against Marines and stuff, it's kind of useless. You know, anything with a good armor save, because it's 0 AP on the Castellan, it's kind of useless. But I mean, the strategies and the stratagems that it has obviously give you a lot of value. Anti-vehicle monster. So this list is going to do a lot against those. The Vindicators are no joke. I'd almost be willing to put it as a 9 without even including anything else. And then you've got your a bunch of Chain Fists. So against vehicles, you're going to do a lot of damage. there were some Thunderhammers in there as well, like 2 of them, I think. We don't have any characters with a huge amount of damage. And maybe if we did have like a character or 2 with a 3 damage weapon, then maybe we could go for like a 10. I don't think I've had anyone ever score a 10 in one of these categories, but I think we'll go 9-5. Mobility wise, it's not the most mobile list that I've seen, but I think it's mobile enough, and I guess the infiltrators can use your guerrilla tactics. So there's that. So that gives you a lot of options as well. And yeah, I think mobility is probably like an 8. I mean, it doesn't need to be super mobile, this list. And do you know what? I'd be quite happy to play this list. I feel like it's pretty solid. And then finally, specialization. Like, I think it is a good balance of shooting and close combat. I think that if the enemy ignore the shooting, they're going to have a really bad day. And, you know, I think maybe I would like to have seen some Vanguard veterans over the Death Company, but I mean, the Death Company are fine. I mean, it's just personal preference that I prefer the Vanguards because they're a little bit more survivable. And maybe there's a little question mark about having 5 characters because it can make Assassinate a little bit easy for the enemy to score. But overall, like, I don't think it's too specialized at all. So, like, probably like a 9. So a 43.5 on that on the list with the laser destroyers. I think if you want to run the ironclads, then you need to build some sort of like reliable shooting into the list as well. I mean, like, to me, ironclads are, I know that they've got the hunter killer missiles, but I think that like the ironclads would almost maybe need to replace the Terminators, or at least one squad of them, and then we need to get something that can do a bit of shooting in there as well. Maybe if you want to run the ironclads, you need to do what I'm doing, which is run a patrol and a Vanguard, so you can ditch the second troop choice, right? Oh, and I'm sorry, this one is a Vanguard. So what did I miss then with the second one? You've got the Death Company, the Relic Terminators, and the 2 Ironclads. Oh, and in this one you buffed up the Tech Marine. Alright, so you give him the Tech Marine, the Master of the Forge, so you can keep the Dreadnoughts a bit more healthy. Yeah, I think I would drop... I'd probably drop the Terminators, and I'd probably drop some of the Death Company, maybe move it down to like a 5-man with 1 Thunderhammer, and then bring some shooting into the list to try and balance it out. I think that's the way that I would probably do it. But yeah, I mean, that first list is a cool list. I do like the vehicles that do like flat 5 or 6 damage. I mean, in some ways they're better than Eradicators. I know that probably when you math hammer them, the Eradicators are maybe probably going to end up having done a little bit more damage, but the thing is, when you math hammer them, I don't often include stuff like the Tech Marine buff, right? The Tech Marine is just chilling out with them the whole game, giving them a 2+, keeping them healthy. So, you know, if they don't kill a Vindicator in a single turn, then you get a flat 3 damage, or you can get up to 3 wounds back on it. It doesn't matter so much if it gets profiled, because the Tech Marine can bring it back to sort of like its base ballistic skill as well. So overall, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, hopefully that was cool, Highland. And yeah, I mean, I kind of forgot when I was saying that you'd be able to hold objectives. You have a Whirlwind as well that can sit on objectives too, I suppose. So maybe you know, maybe this list could potentially move up to a 9. You know, like you've got three backfield pieces of armor that just need to sit there. What's the range on the laser destroyer again? Like, I don't. You'll know. I don't have a laser destroyer, but yeah, what's the range on the turret on the laser destroyer? Because that's probably one of the next things I'm most interested about. All right, next up we're going to look at Julian. And we're going to do Mark's list last, even though we normally do the members first. Mark asked me to do his list last today, so we're going to do his last, and we'll move on to Julian next. Cool. So the best list, I can change the chaplain to a librarian above the main list if it seems like a better choice. The +1 wound litany is for -1 wound rules, and the Lightning Claw Vanguard vets are for screening, clearing, overwatch, sponging, if it happens, wound magnets for the Vanguard veterans, and the chapter master is durable beat stick to lead the charge. I'm thinking of swapping him to one of the other chapter master ideas I have for extra tank. Okay, 30-inch range on the laser destroyer, is it? I mean, on the new board size, that's fine, I would guess. Like, I was going to say, if it's anything more than 24, you're probably in a good spot, because Eradicators are 24, and I don't really feel like too many people have issues with the Ranger and the Eradicators. Okay, so list number 2, and this list is by Julian. So let me just change the header. Oh, cancel. Julian. Cool. Alright, so there's a chapter master who is the artisan of war. He is the angel artifice, the bolt pistol, a lightning claw, the Imperium sword, and he is the warlord. So I like a lot 30-inch range for a 10-inch move. Alright, yeah. Yeah, so basically you can shoot anywhere you like. Oh, and someone is saying it's 36 inches for the laser destroyer. But yeah, I mean, with a 10-inch move and the fact that you have the Tech Marine there and he can advance, it's kind of fine, right? Thanks, Jay. Okay, so the chapter master has, I guess, artisan of war to give. I'm assuming it's a master crafted lightning claw. So it's a jump pack chapter master with a master crafted lightning claw. He has the 2+ save from Angel's Artifice, and he has the toughness 5 from Angel's Artifice, and I guess he has 6 wounds. And then it's Imperium sword. I'd probably swap that out for Gift of Foresight. I think there's a lot of value in Gift of Foresight right now. Yeah, I guess let's go through the list and see. And then we have the Sangri Priest, who is wearing the Artificer armor, and he's the Chief Apothecary, and he is a selfless healer, and he has the hero of the chapter. Highland, thank you so much, dude. You didn't need to do that. Much appreciated. $5 through the super chat. That's awesome. Thank you, man. Definitely let me know. I know that obviously in the UK it's difficult to play too many games right now. But I guess once you play some games with the list, let me know how it goes. The one thing that you might have a little problem with, I think, is hordes. But yeah, I mean, I guess like your relic Terminators, they could deal with the hordes and they could survive any sort of thing that's thrown back at them. So maybe it's maybe you'd get on fine. But yeah, I mean, I always recommend people play the lists. Probably play your lists and just keep my suggestions in your mind before you go ahead and madly go ahead and change everything. Alright, sorry, I missed. Thank you for Julian. It's the Adamantium Mantle on this guy. Did it maybe not? I guess it didn't write it down, or I didn't see it. Adamantium Mantle. Alright, so we've got Lightning Claw, Storm Shield. This guy's kind of... This chapter master is really tanky, right? Like, if you give him Gift of Force, yeah, I mean, if this was me, I would give this chapter master a Gift of Foresight, and I would swap out Lightning Claw for a Thunder Hammer. Gift of Foresight lets you reroll 1 hit and wound every turn, and it also lets you reroll 1 save every turn. That potentially lets you reroll that Thunder Hammer 10 times, reroll the wound 10 times, and to reroll the save 10 times if he survives to the end of the game. And I think that makes this character a lot better. I mean, Imperium Sword is fine, but with the Lightning Claw just doing 1 damage, I think you'd be much better off with Thunder Hammer with those rerolls. He does get more expensive, obviously, if you have a Thunder Hammer, but it's not that big a deal. Alright, and then some people like to run Armor Indomitus on the Priest, some people like to run Artificer Armor. Both of those picks are fine. And then troops, we have Infiltrators, and with the Helix Gauntlet. Then we have a Vanguard Veteran Squad with a bunch of Storm Shield and Hammers, and then the Sergeant with the Quake Bolts and the Hammer. I generally don't recommend to run all your Vanguard Veterans with Hammers because they are 37 points per model, and I feel like that is a lot of points to put into a 2-wound model. I mean, if you compare it to like a Death Company with a Hammer who's 40 points per model, I mean, it's maybe not that bad, but still, like, I would probably run it with, like... Another thing to say about the Hammers is, right, like, if you ever want to use Melta-Bombs with this squad, so in Melta-Bombs, one model has to give up their attacks, right? So, like, there's an advantage here to maybe having, like, 2 guys with chainswords, because when you end up engaging a vehicle, then it's one of the guys with the chainswords who gives up their attack to use the Melta-Bomb stratagem. So that's something to consider. And maybe, you know, if you think about it, if you drop 2 Thunderhammers, you pretty much have enough points to take another guy. So you could basically, rather than run this as a 5-man squad, you could, if you run it as 3 times Thunderhammers and 3 times Chainswords, you know, plus Storm Shields, Chainswords plus Storm Shields, you know, that's 37 points 3 times, so that's like 111 points, I think. Obviously, I'm doing this math in my head, so it could be slightly out. But yeah, you know, like, it only costs you 5 more points. And you've got 3 guys now that can mop up damage in this squad. And also 3 guys you could use Melta-Bombs on. So consider that. I think you actually had some points left in this list, like 10 points, yeah. So you could either do that, or if you have... So we just spent 5 of your points. You could actually run... 1 with the Chainsword to the Melta-Bombs on for 25, and then you could run 2 with Lightning Claws plus Storm Shields, and we know the Lightning Claws are legitimately good right now as well, so that would give you 111 plus 56 plus 25, so that would cost you 11 more points, and you literally had 11 more points, right? So to me that looks like a scarier squad than what you've got there. I guess you've got Quake Bolts there actually, so you get to drop one of these Storm Shields, so you would be like -4. But 5 Vanguard Veterans all with Hammers against 6 Vanguard Veterans, 3 Hammers, 2 Lightning Claws, 1 Chainsword. Like, what do people think on the chat? I think that would be better, right? Because the Hammer ones, you're always going to feel like they're a waste if they have to run into infantry. But if you've got a bunch of Lightning Claws and Chainsword attacks, then you're maybe not going to feel like they're so wasted. And you're also going to still be able to do good damage against vehicles with 3 Hammers and potentially Melta-Bombs as well. I mean, against monsters, maybe the squads... But I just can't get on board with every model in the squad being 37 points. It's too expensive. It's the same reason I don't run Death Company all with Thunderhammers, right? 40 points per model for a 2-wound model that can die from like any AP -2 or -3 weapon fairly easily. Yeah, it's scary. I'd much rather run it something like that than what you've got there. So just a little food for thought on that Vanguard Veteran Squad. Suppressors are fine. I mean, suppressors don't do a lot of damage, but it does shut off Overwatch. Another thing to say though is if you do have the Whirlwind to turn off the Overwatch, which you do, you might not need the suppressors, right? I run the Whirlwind to turn off Overwatch, but I don't run suppressors as well. I feel like you maybe don't need both. Overwatch isn't so strong as it was in 9th edition as previous editions. So I think that's something to consider as well. And Jay says if you're going to do 6 models, you may as well go up to 8 since 6 suffer from blast. Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. We would suffer from going out to blast if we go up to 6 models. But yeah, there's definitely something to be said for having some cheaper models in that squad to take the wounds on. I mean, nobody's running full Death Company, all Thunderhammers either, right? People always have Chainsword guys to take the damage on, so there's something to be said about that. And then we've got our Whirlwind, so that is our first patrol detachment. Our second patrol detachment is got a couple of extra relics in here. We have the Primaris Chaplain on a bike, who has the Exorbitant of Rage, the Mantra of Strength. he has the Master of Sanctity, he has Litany of Hate, obviously, and he has Armour Indomitus and the Wise Orator. Again, this guy might be... if you don't want to take Gift of Foresight on your other character, this character might be stronger with Gift of Foresight rather than the Armour Indomitus. Oh, you wouldn't be able to do that because the Angel is exemplared up, guy. Okay, so forget that idea. But I think you do want to put... I think you do want to put Gift of Foresight onto the character above. I forget what Exorant of Rage is. I don't run it. Let me double check. Litanies. Okay, so this is a... Exorant of Range is a... I'd say it's... I don't know why you've picked it, but I think it's a mistake to pick it as a Blood Angels player. And I guess the reason I don't know what it is because I don't use it. And here is what it is. If there's Litanies Aspiring, select one core or character unit within 6 inches of the priest. Each time this model in the unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to that attack's wound roll. So this actually gets cancelled out by Red Thirst, right? So like if you have the Red Thirst up, so if you are charged, or you get charged, or you're heroically intervene, or you're heroically intervened into, then you already get this roll. +1 to your attack's wound roll. So it seems like a really low value pick. If I was going to be picking for here, if I was going to change this out, which I think you should, I think the two that I usually run are Litany of Faith, which basically gives you a bubble of 5+ against 5+ against mortal wounds. So I guess like anything that can stick out mortal wounds, like Death Guard, Thousand Suns, Grey Knights, you essentially get the ability to ignore those mortal wounds on a 5+. Or obviously Canticle of Hate is the other big one that everyone takes to get +2 to your charge roll. +1 to wound for -1 wound for himself. I'm not with you there. Each time this model makes a melee attack, add 1 to that attack's wound roll. Hey Jason, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. I play against Inceptors, so maybe Blast isn't that bad, but I have to avoid that. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you play in a meta that has a lot of Inceptors, and Inceptors are pretty popular right now, then I guess you have to deal with that. I use suppressors over the Whirlwind because their movement, split fire, 9 decent shots, and they can shut off Overwatch on 3 separate units for no CP. I mean, you're right, Stefan, but the Whirlwind has the ability to make the enemy fight last both in your turn and their turn, and I think that is a lot stronger actually than the Overwatch part of the stratagem. I almost see the Whirlwind's Overwatch stratagem part of a bonus, right? The main thing is the fight last. Who would you face that gives you a -1 penalty to wound? Yeah, I mean the only way. I was going to say the only one I'm aware of that's got -1 to wound at the moment is Mortarion has that thing with which turns off your charge auras, right? Or is it Mortarion? Or one of the Death Guard abilities can do that. Oh right, okay. So there is something that gives you a -1 bubble. Then I guess if that's in your meta and you feel that you need to take the +1 to wound, then I guess that's fine. But overall, I guess in most situations that's going to be a pretty low value pick. But I mean, the rest of the chaplain is good, right? I may actually be tempted to just take Benediction of Fury over the Armour Indomitus though, right? He already has 7 wounds. When I run him with Wise Orator, I don't take armour. I take Benediction of Fury, just because Benediction of Fury, the Mantle of Strength, will be hitting on like Strength 7 and it's a flat 4 damage with 6s doing mortal wounds. It's pretty crazy. It doesn't work, Alex, but I guess it would it would. So if he's fighting against someone that has -1 to wound, and he has Exorant of Rage to give him +1 to wound, and Red Thirst to give him another +1 to wound, he would end up getting, it's like he would get to add the +2, then he would take away the -1, so he would overall end up with his +1 to wound again. Because normally the -1 would put him back at 0, right? It's kind of the same as like, isn't that -1 to damage, not -1 to hit rolls? Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It is very situational, and the Death Guard one, I thought he meant Death Watch when he said DW, but I don't have the new Death Watch Codex, so I couldn't tell you. But against Death Guard, it's -1 damage. It's not -1 to wound. That's for sure. And the Whirlwind Stratagem doesn't the interrupt stratagem counter fights last? No, because the Whirlwind Stratagem, you can't interrupt against it. The wording on that stratagem is that all the enemy models have to fight you before you get to fight them. So it's like you couldn't interrupt against the Whirlwind Stratagem. That's my understanding of it. It's probably going to come up a few times in the live games we have on the channel, because I was playing a Death Watch player. I was playing a Death Guard player last week, and he kind of was questioning exactly how the Whirlwind's wording works. But the Whirlwind says all enemy models must have fought before you can be selected to fight, so you're not able to interrupt and fight over that. Oh, Deathwing or Death Watch. Yeah, I mean, I guess it could. But okay. Alright, so if you're picking it for your meta, then I guess that's fine. We'll just move over it. But I guess you can switch up your litanies between battles and stuff. So the pick of the Primaris Chaplain on a bike is generally a very good pick. Yeah, I mean, I did a video on the Whirlwind. I think it was just on Friday, and a lot of people maybe don't fully realise just how important the Whirlwind is right now. If you join our Facebook group, which is in the video description, or if you join our Discord, you'll see that everybody in the channels, everybody everywhere is making Whirlwinds, myself included, right? Here's a Whirlwind that we've got to get done, because they are super strong right now. And I have 6 suppressors, but Whirlwind, I guess, is where it's at. So, okay. Moving on then, we've got Incursors in the 2nd Patrol Detachment, and then we've got another Vanguard Veteran Squad. This time we've got Lightning Claw Storm Shields, a bunch with just 2 Lightning Claws, and then the Sergeant with Infernal Pistol and Lightning Claw. And this is definitely like a melee, a shredder unit, right? They'll just shred enemy melee, so that's pretty cool. And then we've got our attack bikes with multi-melt, there's 3 of them. So this list is pretty solid. Oops. Double oops, where am I? Here we go. So, Strong Chapter Master, Priest, 1 Infiltrator, 1 Incursor, Suppressors, Whirlwind, Vanguard Veterans with Hammers, Vanguard Veterans with Claws, Attack Bikes, Primaris Chaplain on a bike, and then the Whirlwind and the Suppressors. Yeah, I feel like I would lose the Suppressors here, if it was me. And you've taken 2 Haywire Mines. Are you allowed to take 2 Haywire Mines? I have never picked the Haywire Mine on my Incursors, but I didn't realise you could take 2. No, it says once per battle. So, I think you've only paid the cost for 1. I think this is a typo. I think it's just 1 Haywire Mine. I like that the Whirlwind has a place in a Blood Angels list now. I think it fits very nicely. 2 squads made of 9 Marines and 2 Incursors. Okay. Yeah, so I think I probably lose the Hunter Killer and the Whirlwind, right? You want the Whirlwind to be hidden from the enemy. So the Hunter Killer seems like a waste of points here. The Suppressors, I guess, are fine if you're fighting against a lot of enemy infantry that have a lot of Overwatch, but again, I think it's very situational. And if that's what your meta includes, then it means 2 squads. Alright. So you have 2 squads of these guys, is that right? I gotta add up your points here. 165 plus 249 plus 115 plus 140. And then 165, 135, 130, 181, 100, 135. Yeah, so 914 points. Am I missing something here? Oh, you've got 2 squads. Does this times 2 here mean you've got 2 squads of suppressors as well? Drukhari Codex lists the major advancements in close combat and offer a solid challenge to Blood Angels. In this regard, I think anyone else see this way. So I haven't seen the Drukhari Codex yet, Alex. I need to see it. I'm actually trying to hope to get a few more subscribers and maybe get to become a previewer from Games Workshop so that I can get the codexes early like the other channels get them early. But yeah, I mean, I haven't actually seen it myself. If you have it, actually, yeah, I mean, I don't know, did it come out this weekend? I think it was on pre-orders last weekend, right? Okay, then I think you have to drop some of your suppressors, right? You definitely don't need 2 squads of suppressors. I don't think they give you that much strength, and I kind of think that you don't need 2 squads of incursors here either. You do have the 2nd patrol detachment, so you do have an elite slot. So I would try and fill up this elite slot. I'd probably take Sangria Guard. I'm surprised you don't have Sangria Guard. I mean, they are our most damaging melee unit that we can have, right? So I think like 2 or 3 squads of jump units is pretty common, and you've got 2 squads here with the 2 Vanguard veterans. So I would add the Sangria Guard. And you did say at the top that you could switch out a Librarian for like the Chapter Master on the bike or the Priest or something. I think it sounds like in your meta that you need this Chaplain to counter something, so then I'd probably stick with a Chaplain. Towers isn't the army suppressors work as well against its Ultramarines and maybe Necrons. Yeah, I mean, Necrons suppressors can work well against, and yeah, I mean, they do have a decent volume of fire. I just don't think you need 2 squads of suppressors and a Whirlwind. I think you're putting a lot of your eggs into that basket, and suppressors aren't that survivable. Just 2 wounds, just power armor. There's only 3 in a squad. And and this is 2 squads of Vanguard veterans as well, all with claws. Okay, I mean, it's a strong list, Julian. I do think you'd get value out of having Sangria Guard, though. I mean, there's something to be said that Sangria Guard will just they will just run into just about any enemy and delete them off the board from full health. Maybe not Death Guard and maybe not Dreadnoughts, but against most other things, they can just delete units from full health. They get so many attacks, they get so many potential ways to add to their hits and rerolls, and with the Red Thirst and the swords, they're just generally very good. For the 2 the suppressor squads, you could take a laser destroyer. Do you know what? I would actually like this list more with a laser destroyer in there, maybe, because that gives you some serious punch again that needs to be dealt with. I think it was Tony that said that the suppressors do a decent amount of shooting. So I think you can have 1 squad of suppressors. I don't think you need 2. So we'll go ahead and score the list, and then what I'd like to see really is, I'd probably like to see this list with like 1 of the squads of incursors dropped, 1 of the squads of suppressors dropped, and then probably this Hunter Killer Missile on this Whirlwind. It's not doing anything for you. Probably get the Thunderhammer and Gift of Foresight on this Chapter Master. I think that makes him a lot stronger. And then Sangria Guard, however many you can fit in there. I mean, we dropped like 210 points, so I think you could probably fit like 7. good mix of swords and axes, and like 1 infernal pistol. Urge to buy laser destroyers rising. Yeah, I mean we always want to buy something on these streams. Yeah, and suppressors are -1 to hit when they move as well, obviously, because they're just infantry, right? And autocannons are heavy weapons. Alright, so OBSEC and holding. I guess like you do have a good amount of stuff that can hold. You do have a good amount of Phobos units. So I guess probably your holding could probably be as high as an 8.5 or a 9 maybe. I think 8.5 because I think the last list had a bunch of armour in it and we gave it 8.5. Anti-infantry, I guess you're going to do very well against anti-infantry. I mean, you've got, like I said, you've got the Whirlwind, you've got all those suppressor shots, you've got a ton of lightning claws. So it feels like against hordes and infantries you're probably going to do very well. Against monsters, on the other hand, you're going to be a little bit weaker. And I guess the reason you're going to be weaker is, I mean, you've got the small squad of guys with the Thunderhammers, and then that's really only your 3 damage weapon. You do have this Crozius that could be buffed to 3 damage if Mantra of Strength goes off, but and again, your 1 squad of Vanguard veterans are. I think you need to mix these squads up a little bit so that you don't. If you do take losses on this more expensive squad, you're not just deleting guys that are 37 points per model every single turn. So yeah, I think that's important. So I think against vehicles and monsters, this list is much more situational. Like it's maybe like an 8 because it's nice to have a lot of infernal pistols. It's nice to have a lot. It's nice to have a lot of lightning claws and the infernal pistol here. And I guess, do you know what? You do have the 3 attack bikes, so maybe it's an 8.5. But in terms of raw melee against the enemy, like if you play against someone who's pretty smart and they know that all your Thunderhammers are in the same squad, then, and that is the big melee squad, and they know that if you delete that squad then there's going to be no more 3 damage weapons, they're probably going to focus down the Thunderhammer group pretty quickly. And it's going to be super painful to lose those guys at 37 points per model. I mean, they're more expensive than Blade Guard veterans at that point, and they're not as survivable, and they can't be transhumaned, so there's that. Mobility for the list is fine. Mobility is probably slightly stronger than the last list because just about everything has a jump pack. I mean, our Whirlwind and our bikes don't, but they are mobile in themselves. So I think mobility is up at like a 9. And then specialization, I think you're a little bit too specialized in that. Yeah, maybe mobility is like 9.5 because there really is only the Whirlwind that has a 10-inch movement that isn't mobile. So maybe mobility is like 9.5, but yeah, I mean my big issue is like I think you've put I think there's too much emphasis on trying to turn off Overwatch. Like I play a bunch of different games. I finally made it to a live stream. Hello, Commander. Hey, Albino. Nice to see you. Yeah, I play a bunch of different games, and I'm trying to think, like, Overwatch in 9th edition seems really low, right? Like, some armies are doing it, but a lot of armies are, like, going through the game, maybe not even casting a single round of Overwatch. So having 3 different units dedicated to switching off Overwatch seems like it's too much. So yeah, I think it is too specialised. But I think you could fix that pretty quickly. Like, I think if you put Sangri Guard into this list, then this list becomes pretty decent. So yeah, maybe it's like a 7 for your specialization. Like I think sort of a lack of 3 damage weapons. That 1 Vanguard veteran squad needs a bit of a rethink. The chapter master needs a little bit of a rethink, and yeah, the Overwatch shutdown is probably too much. So I think it's a good list, Julian, and thanks for submitting it. I did mess up your list a few weeks ago, so sorry about that. Hopefully this is more useful. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you're going to a tournament, right, you can't bring 3. You can't bring 3 units that turn off Overwatch. You can't because while that's going to be great against, like you said, Tau or Necrons or something, it's going to be useless against some of the other factions. So you have to build a balanced list. And what we're always doing on these shows is we're trying to look at lists that will do strong against everything. So I don't think there's too much to change to make this list strong against a lot more things. So yeah, thanks for the submission. And yeah, please, I usually say go ahead and play your list as you normally do, but when next time you play it, try and think of a few things that I've mentioned and see if any of it comes into your mind and you think, yeah, actually my chapter master would have been a lot better with Gift of Foresight. I'm surprised more people aren't picking Gift of Foresight. The very next list has a Gift of Foresight captain on a bike, so awesome. But yeah, Gift of Foresight, 10 rerolls, 10 free rerolls on your armor save, right? That's huge. That's so powerful. I think that's way more. I think it's possibly the most powerful warlord trait we have access to. Just checked in. What was that about units that turn off Overwatch aside for Whirlwind? Suppressors can turn off Overwatch for infantry units, Douglas. But the Whirlwind has the ability to turn off Overwatch for anything. However, the suppressors, you just have to hit. You don't have to pay CP to do it, so it's interesting. And maybe a Whirlwind in one squad of suppressors is okay, but 2 is too much. I mean, you're never going to have enough things to... you're never going to need to charge more than 4 things in a single turn anyway, or 4 infantry models. So you're probably... some of those suppressors are probably just going to be completely wasted. Okay, so... list number 3 today, then we're moving on, is for Same. So, hi brother, thanks for all the great content lately. Built a double patrol because I wanted to have the captain and the chaplain on the bike, plus the priest and the librarian, but I felt I could take better advantage of the double patrol list by going with only 2 troop choices and using the relic trait as obsec removal. I feel the captain on the bike does this job a little better and cheaper than his chaplain brother, so ended up with this. Alright, so this list is going to look a lot like the list I've been talking about, where you take a couple of patrols and by doing this you get like a bunch of different really strong characters. There is a risk here, obviously, having like so many characters that you maybe open yourself up a little bit for Assassinate, but let's get into it and see how it goes. So we start with Chapter Master on the bike, who has the Thunderhammer and the Storm Shield, and I think he's 170 points, that's right. I was going to say I think he's overspent here, but he's not, and he's got Gift of Foresight and the Adamantium Mantle and the Angel's Artifice. So this was the Chapter Master I designed a few months ago now. Like, it was Christmas Day's video, I think, we put out this Chapter Master versus Dante, and I think this guy is a great Chapter Master. I honestly want to just do a sim, like Dante against him, because people still rate Dante really highly, and I want to compare the two of them together. So I'm going to do a sim. I'm probably going to try and do that this week. I'm actually going to probably try and do it tonight, where we actually roll dice and fight this Chapter Master up against Dante. However, I've made a tweak since mine. I've actually dropped the Storm Shield, because like he already has a 2+ save because of the Angel's Artifice, right? So I actually dropped the Storm Shield, which was giving him the 1+ save, and put in an Infernal Pistol, and in doing that you save yourself 5 points, right? Because Infernal Pistol's 5 and the Storm Shield is 10, and I mean he's still a 2+, 2+, 4++, 5++ with toughness 6, and he's got 7 wounds, and he's got free reroll of his save every turn. And remember, it's not every battle round, it's every turn, so that's 10. I thought it was every battle round, and I thought it was strong when it was every battle round. It's actually every turn, so it's potentially 10 rerolls on his save every game, which is kind of nuts. So you can. This one here is a 1+ because he's got the Storm Shield, but I think it's actually fine to put the 2+ and take the Infernal Pistol. And the interesting thing about that, another reason that's really solid with Infernal Pistol, that's not. Again, it's an advantage over Dante, right? Every turn, you can shoot your Infernal Pistol and you can reroll a hit in the wound, because your Infernal Pistol is the one that's going to do the most damage, right? So, when Dante shoots his Infernal Pistol and you miss or you fail to wound, you're like, oh, you sort of like hang your head in shame. But with this guy, you could use your reroll on your turn anyway, every turn, to reroll the hit and wound on your Infernal Pistol. If you're in close combat, that's huge, right? That's potentially 8 damage. it's a lot for someone to deal with. So this is a great character, but I'm thinking I'm running mine at the moment with the Infernal Pistol, 160 points. Sangri Priest, very standard, selfless healer, nothing to say about this one. We actually have a second captain on a bike with a Thunder Hammer and a Storm Shield, and this guy has the Visage of Death. So this is just a regular captain on a bike, and Visage of Death means that he removes obsec from enemies. I mean, this is actually kind of interesting because I was running a captain on a bike as part of the Death Company to get Death Visions, with like Teeth of Terror, and he comes in at 130 points as well. So this is an interesting option for another captain with a Thunder Hammer, I guess, if you need those 3 damage weapons. I wish the captain on the bike could take a Relic Blade. I mean, yeah, but I mean, I guess a Relic Blade would save you like using an actual relic on them, but I don't think it's the end of the world. 10 points for just some advantage against -1 and 2 AP doesn't seem enough when the cap can get into combat so easily. Yeah, I think that's pretty much why I was thinking an Infernal Pistol is good here. Jason, what allows him to reroll saves? Gift of Foresight Warlord trait allows you to reroll 1 hit, 1 save, and 1 wound every turn. So it's pretty great. Okay, Primaris Librarian, Chief Librarian, 4 sword, Relic of the Chapter. He's the Tomb of Malachor, and he has Psychic Mastery. So the advantage of having Psychic Mastery, I guess, is you get +1 to all your Psychic tests. That actually makes your Psychic powers more like it's about 10% increased on the chance they cast. Normally it's about a 70% chance, so this pushes up to about an 80% chance. And he's got the Veil of Talheim, he's got the Null Zone, he's got the Psychic Fortress, and because he's a Primaris Librarian, he doesn't have a jump pack, he kind of needs to take Wings of Sanguinius, so that's why he's got the Tomb. We've 2 Infiltrator Squads, obviously, because this is a patrol detachment. We're then allowed 4 elite choices, and he's got 5 Sangri Guard with swords, another 5 with swords, and then 10 with a ton of Lightning Claws and Storm Shields, and then a Relic Blade Infernal Pistol on the Vanguard Veteran Sergeant. Fast attack, we have those 6 Eradicators in a single squad, and then we've got 6 Interceptors in a single squad. What am I talking about? Getting ahead of myself. And then 2 smaller squads of Eradicators, one with the regular melta rifles, one with the heavy melta rifles, and the multi-melta. Cool. And the Dolph is asking if anyone plays Battlefield 5. I've never played Battlefield 5, but I'm sure I've enjoyed previous Battlefield games. Okay. So, being consumed by the Black Rage and went with a sexy killy units that only had 2 choices. To compensate, the captain of the bike was given the ability to turn off obsec with Visage of Death. As a bonus, he's harder to hit in combat as well. We'll try and play defensively in the beginning. The Infiltrators to hold the backfield. The Librarian to use the Psychic Fortress to give a 5+ aura. The Priest to give a good 6+++ aura. Res heal the fallen wounded. When the opportunity is given, they both focus to be more offensive. Librarian will switch in Null Zone and Wings Veil to turn off critical enemy and vulnerable saves. Since he does not have a jump pack, he will be advancing a lot. You can advance and cast psychic powers though, so this is fine. The Priest will probably use Chalice Overflowing to put 2 units in Assault Doctrine if good charges are possible in turn 2. The 6-man Inceptor Squad is there to be able to blast away a full squad of 20 Necron warriors in 1 round of shooting. To bypass the reanimation, they'll kill around 21 warriors with Chapter Master rerolls and 23 with Descent of the Ancient rerolls ones. My meta will probably be quite Necron heavy and will finally get to play again. If it wasn't, I think I'd change this to a 4-man squad, add Vindicator Assassin, and give the Infiltrators that'll be guarding him the Helix Gauntlet. The Vanguard Veterans and Inceptors both have the option to combat squad depending on what the opponent EG is facing. The Inceptors will probably combat squad to stay safer. If the Vanguard Veterans stay in a 10-man squad, they are likely target for the Blood Chalice buff from the Sangri Priest and the Veil of Time. If the Vanguard veteran don't combat squad, one squad of Sangri Guard will probably stay in reserve to deep strike and try and clear one backfield objective. The Eradicators probably start on the table, as it will shorten CP, but if the mission table calls for it, they will be put in strategic reserves. I mean, he's got a chapter master here, so starting the Eradicators on the board is fine with me, because starting them on the board means that the Eradicators can be given some rerolls straight away from the beginning of the game. I hate relying on Wings of Sanguinius, can be failed or denied. That's very true. So, I mean, I think we're agreed that the highest percentage player, the most reliable percentage play is to just have a regular librarian with a jump pack, right? Excuse me. However, some people like the Terminator Armor Librarian, some people like a Primaris Librarian. Both of them are more survivable than the regular Librarian, or, you know, with the jump pack. So here's the thing. Some people take the regular Librarian with the jump pack and give him something like Artificer Armor or Armor Indomitus. Some people would take a Terminator or Primaris Librarian and then give him the Tomb of Malachor and pick up Wings of Sanguinius. Now, both are, like, one of them ways is, or I guess both the ways, they're going to cost you 1 CP to do it. However, maybe the regular Librarian is a little bit more reliable. It's tough to say, right? I guess just having that jump pack means that he'll always get to move more. So yeah, I guess there's that to consider. So I think the regular Librarian is probably the better play here, but not everybody has the model. I actually ordered jump packs from Games Workshop like months ago now to get some more jump packs, because I have a model I want to convert to regular Librarian. So at the moment myself, I'm actually using a Librarian Terminator Armor because I don't have a regular jump pack. Okay. I never thought of it as saving CP in the long run, but that's a great point. What is saving CP in the long run? Gift of Foresight saves you CP in the long run for sure, because I guess you don't have to do a bunch of re-rolling. Mobility is my toughness. Yeah, I mean, mobility is important. I may proxy my the problem is my Terminator Armor Librarian is going to be in the wrong size base. Yeah, do you know what? I've ordered a Librarian a while ago now. Hopefully he'll be here before too long, and we'll try him in battle. But for the moment, I'm just running one in Terminator Armor. Do you know what? The thing about Terminator Armor, though, is when you actually cast Null Zone, then you get no protection. So both times I think I've cast Null Zone, my guy in Terminator Armor has died. So, I mean, it's just the way it goes. What do we think about this list, though? This list is it's got 4 really strong characters. We can't deny with that. It's got 2 Infiltrator Squads, so a lot of provincial or prevent. What did I say? Provincial, preventing of deep striking and screening, which is very good. We have the 10 Sangri Guard and 10 Vanguard veterans, which is solid. I guess his meta is strong in Necron warriors, so he has a lot of Inceptors to deal with that. 6 of them. And then Eradicators bringing up the heavy firepower. So slightly more in shooting than I would say. So it's about 610 points in shooting. Maybe a little light in close combat here. We got just under 600 points in close combat, but I guess that's because we've got just over 600 in shooting. And then probably our characters are coming in, like 550 points. So all 4 characters are good. And pretty much I'm running a variant of all 4 of these characters as well. So the double patrol list does seem to be getting some traction. Like, more people are picking double patrol lists, and I think they're slightly stronger than the Battalion right now. I mean, I haven't seen too many people submit patrol and vanguards, and I guess you are taking a CP hit to do this. And this list is starting on 5 CP, which we talked about earlier, and saying 5 is about the lowest. I'm using a Primaris Librarian with a jump pack. I just put him on a smaller base. Yeah, do you know what? I actually put a Phobos Librarian on a smaller base. So I thought I could maybe do that, but I'm waiting to get a damn jump pack. Maybe I have a spare one. I need to have a double check. Okay. Most players remove eliminators from their lists after the unit fails to kill a character in a couple of games. You need 6. Yeah, I don't recommend eliminators. Especially not in squads of 3. Eliminators aren't that strong. Commander, allegedly that's a mistake in the FAQ and Null Zone. It should only be enemy units that get their invulnerables removed. I don't know if it is Arc Suit. I read that because I asked a few people about this, and typically the rules can be wrong in other languages, and if you go to tournaments the rules default back to English. So I guess we'll have to see if they're actually going to change it on Null Zone. So if you went to a tournament in Germany, for example, the rules in that tournament should still be using the English rules, because I guess Games Workshop are English and they can't always guarantee the translations are right in other languages. So I guess we'll see. Like if Null Zone does suddenly not affect your own units, that will be great. And Null Zone will be even more important. But for right now, it affects everybody. And I guess we just need to wait and see what actually happens. But that's what I heard. I mean, I asked around a little bit after I heard about it, so that's what I heard. Okay, so let's score this list. And this list is number 3, and it's by Same. And I guess for objective holding, we're going to go with an 8. We just have those 2 Phobos units for objective holding. I guess we have some Eradicators that could potentially sit on objectives. I mean, so maybe it could be more, but we'll leave it like that. Against the anti-infantry horde, it's hard to argue with the fact you're going to have 6 times 6 plasma shots coming in, so that's like a whole squad of Necron warriors killed by the Inceptors. We do have a decent amount of Sangri Guard bolters, but bar that, like, our anti-horde is lowish. So again, maybe it's like an 8. Maybe it's an 8.5. We'll say just all the Inceptor shots could be pretty good. 6 Eradicators. So I prefer attack bikes with multi-meltas. The mobility of the attack bikes sort of trumps the Eradicators, but the Eradicators point for point probably will do more damage. They're just not quite as agile. Anyone thoughts on converting Indomitus Assault Intercessors into Death Company? I assume they would be pretty easy to convert. I mean, it depends what you're trying to convert, Brent. You could just literally spray them black. You could just make them spray them black and paint red X's on their shoulder, Brent, and I think that would be absolutely fine. I mean, that's the easiest conversion probably ever. Maybe give them different helmets, or if you really wanted to. They are all easy to build, the Indomitus ones, right? So the shoulders are baked into the sprues, so you're not able to change out the shoulder pads for like Death Company shoulder pads or something. Does anyone use the Librarian Dreadnought? Yes, I've used it a bunch of times in 9th edition. Librarian Dreadnought is very good. He's just a beat stick, so if you just want a character that's going to run in and smash face, Librarian Dreadnought's great for that. A lot of people run the Utility Librarian to get access to stuff like Null Zone, Psychic Fortress, and that's probably why Librarian Dreadnought doesn't see quite so much play, but he's not bad at all. He's survivable, and he's better than he ever probably was, because he gets more attacks now, and originally I was upset that they took his weapon skill down 1, but I think honestly, if you can give him full chapter master rerolls, and he can have like 11 attacks easily enough, hitting on hitting on 3s, rerolling everything, wounding on 2s, pretty much everything in the game, and then it's flat 3 damage. He can do a lot of work. So moving on, I prefer attack bikes on multi-meltas, but I think these are fine. Eradicators are fine. I mean, they don't feel quite as Blood Angels. We have a couple of 3 damage weapons here. We got 2 Thunder Hammers, so that's decent. And then I guess we could use our Eradicators. So our anti-infantry is probably like anti-vehicle monster is probably like a 9. Our mobility is probably like an 8, maybe an 8.5, because we do have just those 6 Eradicators that'll be moving around. But I mean, overall, it's decent enough. So yeah, something like 8.5. And then finally, Specialization. This is an interesting one because he's got Veil of Time, so he's got a way to fight first, but he doesn't have the Whirlwind to essentially lose Overwatch and fight last, which is arguably stronger than Veil of Time. There's some situations where Veil of Time can be countered. There's a Death Guard relic, I believe, that counters it. And I guess if you get fight last against you, you're countered on Veil of Time as well. So maybe it's just a little bit. Maybe it's just losing a little bit of the utility that it maybe needs. But I mean, overall, again, it's still a very strong list, and I think I want to give it like an 8.5 or even a 9. For me, I think I'll give it a 9, but I don't like Plasma Inceptors, and that's just because I don't have good luck with rolling them. I get too many ones when I roll plasmas. If you watched the game last week, I think one of my Redemptor Dreadnoughts literally did 9 mortal wounds to itself from rolling ones on the plasmas, right? So yeah, I mean, if that had been a squad of Inceptors, I would have killed the whole squad with my rolls. So I don't like Inceptors, but I will give this list a 9 and say it's not too specialised. It's maybe just 1 point off there for not having the Whirlwind, so there's no way to counter fight last. I mean, maybe it could have been an 8.5, but I feel like the Inceptors maybe bring it up to 9. So, alright, so that's same. That was list number 3. I like Veil of Time a lot, not just fight first, but reroll charges. Yeah, I mean, Veil of Time is good. Yeah, I think I'm right giving it a 9. Veil of Time is good. If the enemy has something like what is it, those rotting stench fats that the Death Guard get, then that potentially counters Veil of Time, right? And you'll just fight last. Even if you cast Veil of Time, you still have to fight last, which can potentially be a big problem for Blood Angels. Cool. Moving on to list number 4 today then, and this is from Thomas Salvin. Salvin? Hopefully I'm saying that right. The bright side of Plasma Inceptors is their blast. I mean, yeah, they're amazing. The amount of shots that the Plasma Inceptors get, there's no denying it that they're amazing. Just, I don't run them because I actually have some of them, and I was working on conversions with them to give them Sangria Guard wings. So like I thought that they were going to look really cool, but yeah, I just don't run them. I'm working on my Redemptor Dreadnoughts at the moment, and I'm going to run 2 Redemptors on my current list. Popping to catch a lunch break. Oh well, hello Thomas, how you doing? This is maybe your list we're just about to start on. I'm not sure. Alright, so this is a Flesh Tearers list. So I think this is only the 2nd or 3rd time we've done a Flesh Tearers list, so this is cool. I like seeing the Flesh Tearers. They got some really interesting options as well in the new codex. I did think at some point I might run my army as a Flesh Tearers list just to see, just to have some fun with it. So this is the Patrol and Vanguard list, where we have 1 Patrol and we have 1 Vanguard, and it's an interesting option. What it does, I guess, is let you get 4 HQ, and I guess you have to spend 3 CP and you can get your refunded CP from the patrol. Alright, so we've got Chief Librarian, who has been given Angel's Exemplar, so he's got Psychic Mastery and Rites of War. Excuse me, Librarian Terminator Armor. So this is the same Librarian I'm running, I guess. Hadn't considered giving him Angel's Exemplar for Rites of War, but he knows Veil of Time, he knows Might of Healers, Null Zone, and he is the Stormbolter in the 4th axe. Might of Heroes is fine, I guess. +1 strength, +1 toughness to 1 allied model, and +1 attacks as well. Not many people pick Might of Heroes. I guess it's a niche pick. Let's see what else he's got. We've got Librarian Dreadnought with Quickening and Wings. Standard loadout for Librarian Dreadnought. I usually throw a Meltagun on this Librarian Dreadnought for 5 points, because he's always got to be in close, right? That's sadly not my list. Alright, Thomas. He's always in close, so it seems for the 5 points, if you have them, take the Meltagun, so you'll usually get to fire it. 3+, 66% chance. You can't take Rites of War with Angel's Exemplar. You are 100% right. Angel's Exemplar only lets you pick Blood Angels Warlord traits, so this is actually invalid. Good spot, Mohammed. I completely missed that. Yeah, you're 100% right, though. So, BA Warlord trait only. This is why I think Gift of Foresight, though. Gift of Foresight would be okay here. I mean, this is a great one. this is a great one to consider. And then we've got a regular chaplain with just a bolt gun in the Litany of Hate. Litany of Hate is the free litany you get, right? Everybody gets Litany of Hate. So I guess he didn't pick a litany, so he can pick one. I guess it would be Mantra of Strength or Canticle, really. Flesh Tearers don't get the +1 to charge, so do you know what? It's probably going to be Canticle that you were going to want here to get your +2 to charge. Okay. And then he is Gabriel Seth. So Seth is an interesting character because Seth gets to fight twice, if I remember correctly, and he gets a boatload of attacks. I don't own Seth, actually. I did think maybe at some point I would buy him just for fun. Like, I did consider before making like a soup list, I guess, where we could have Seth as we could have Seth as like an allied detachment. Where is it? Lord of Slaughter. No. Whirlwind of Gore. Yeah, this is what it is. At the end of the fight phase, if this model is within engagement range of any enemy units, it can fight again. So Seth gets his 5 attacks. I guess 6 on the charge, 7 from Savage Echoes, and he's equipped with Blood Reaver, which is basically like a 3 damage chainsword. Pretty cool. So 7 attacks. So Seth potentially gets 14 attacks. I guess he gets them both in both your fight phase and the enemy's fight phase. So if they don't deal with Seth, he can be an absolute monster in combat. So we then have an Infiltrator Squad. I guess because this is a patrol detachment, we do need 1 troop squad. We have an Apothecary, who is the chief Apothecary, and he is honoured by the Arx Angelicum to get the Icon of the Angel, and he is the hero of the chapter and selfless healer. And at this point, we're spending an awful lot of points on HQ, right? 135, 285, like 285 plus 240, it's like 525 plus this. So we spent 600 points on HQ. On characters, I guess, and then next thing we have is a company ancient. Wow. Okay, so we spent like 700 points on characters. So, like, that is too many points on characters. It's just too much. The enemy will be able to assassinate that like crazy, and yeah, I mean, like, I think some of the lists that we're looking at are spending like 550, maybe 600 points on characters, and even that feels like really borderline. So 700 points is just too much. We do have a Death Company, and it is 3 Thunder Hammers and 4 Chainswords. We do have the Assault Terminators, 3 Thunder Hammers and 6 Lightning Claws. Okay, so that's a huge Terminator squad. We have another Terminator squad with Assault Cannon, Heavy Flamer, and 9 Chain Fists. So there's like 2 10-man Terminator squads. I guess that's why he's got the Apothecary to try and keep them alive and keep them healed. And then I guess it's a Devastator squad with Grav Cannons inside the Death Wing drop pod. This list seeks to utilise the Space Hulk Terminator models from Space Hulk. And the list presumes the drop pod ability lets me put more than half of the army in reserves. Librarian Dread, Flesh Tearers, and Death Company are all fluff choices, models on hands, and all are malleable. Main strategy. Okay, so Librarian, Litany of Hate, Apothecary, Icon of the Angel, Seth, Ancient Devastator squad in the drop pod. So he's putting a lot in the drop pod. The Apothecary, the Chaplain, Seth, the Ancient, and the Devastator squad. Devastators clear out any screens. Terminators teleport in your characters, and Infiltrators to deny enemy concealed positions and thwart the plans. Terminators, the non-salt one, is to hold midfield, and Jump Pack Death Company and Lib Dread to hold backfield objectives until they can get a counter push. My concern is backfield objective holding seems a bit weak. Too reliant on character buffs. Yeah, I think for sure it is too reliant on characters. Is 1 Infiltrator squad enough to protect heavy reliance on Deep Strike? Yeah, I guess there's a few questions around this list. For one, I guess, maybe having Seth in the drop pod with like something else where you can reroll charges makes sense, but like, yeah, I would probably have like a Death Company without jump packs, Seth, and something with it lets me reroll charges in the drop pod. But I don't know. I guess the shooting Devastator squad makes sense. So then you probably need Seth plus like a chapter champion and some company veterans, so you can basically fit both of them in the drop pod. So you could have 3 company veterans, a chapter champion, Seth, and the Devastators. And I guess the advantage of the company veterans is the company veterans have the bodyguard rule, right? So if like your characters end up killing who you're engaged with and they're exposed, they can't be shot if they're within 3 inches of the company veterans. So that's one of the reasons to do that. And then I guess I mean, maybe you need the chaplain for the litany. Yeah, I mean, there's just maybe you need to have the chaplain with the litany, and the chaplain has the icon of the angel, and on the drop pod, the chaplain comes out. He casts his litany to give you the +2 in the charge. You have your rerolls. Your chaplain Seth in the veterans charge, and the death in the Devastators shoot out the screens. I guess like the apothecary doesn't make sense to be in the drop pod. You wouldn't need the champion ancient then, and yeah, I mean, I think you have to drop like 150 points of characters, and bar the Devastator squad, you're kind of light on firepower here. We have, and again, we're probably a little bit light. We've got 6 3 damage weapons here. I guess we've got Seth as well. And we do have the ability to null zone in Might of Heroes, but yeah, this is a really tricky list to get right. Like, normally I can look at a list straight away and be like, yeah, this is what I changed to make it work. But I feel like, I'd probably lose the pot. Well, we lose the company ancient anyway, right? I don't know. Flesh tears are a little bit tricky, I guess, and maybe someone in chat would help out here. Yeah, you're right. 6 objective missions is going to be really difficult as well, because you're basically drop podding everything in, loads of characters, loads of units, and then hopefully focused up by all the Terminators. You're not holding things, you're just going after kills, which is fine. And Flesh Tearers are like a super aggressive list, right? And they do have their chapter tactic gives them like exploding 6s. Is it? Or is it? It's not exploding 6s. It's -1 AP on every 6 they roll in close combat, right? Let me just double check that, because I don't play Flesh Tearers all that often. On unmodified 6 of, yeah, you add basically +1 to all their AP for any 6 they roll in close combat. So it makes sense to try and get into close combat early and do a lot of damage. Holding backfield objectives is a major problem in this list. You're also going to be super reliant on how well the opponent screens, right? If you've got nowhere you can put that drop pod down that will really do a lot of work, you're going to have some problems there. And I mean, I know myself, if I'm playing against enemies that have drop pods, you're always measuring distances before you deploy stuff. You know, you're trying to make sure that if they are going to get to drop pod in, then they're within some range of like an all-spec scan or something like that, right? So it's not just like the drop pod has no answer. But yeah, I think like you have to drop a couple. You have to drop a couple of characters. You can. I think you could have Seth, company veterans, and like a chaplain. So you'd have to drop maybe the ancient. You maybe even have to drop like Librarian Dreadnought. Like having 6 characters just leaves you so open to assassinate points, and yeah, it's a really tricky one. And I guess the 2 big squads of Terminators, like what they're both like 9-men, 10-men squads. A 9-man and a 10-man squad. No, sorry, it's 2 10-man squads of Terminators. I'm getting confused, I think. I guess you're going to lose some points in mobility because Terminators are obviously not mobile. You did have this ability to remove charges, or sorry, reroll charges and deny Overwatch, but I mean, yeah, it's a little questionable as well, because I think the reroll charges means that he's not going to be charging first, right? So you're not actually going to get to deny the Overwatch because everybody around him. Or that just lets him reroll his own charge, does it? So your other characters don't have a way to reroll. No, okay, you've got Icon and Angel. Yeah, it's too much in the drop pod. You're probably not going to be able to screen so well with Infiltrator Squad. You need something else to hold the backfield. And I guess 2 10-man Terminator squads. Again, like, I understand that you want to get them in close quickly, but like I would probably be thinking about dropping some, maybe the 10-man squad here can hold the middle. That'd be okay. But like maybe this close combat squad needs to be like an 8 or something, and we take some points and we free up some points elsewhere. I think 6 characters, or I think it's too much. And it is strong in the midfield, I guess, but and it doesn't have the greatest mobility. So I'm going to try and score this. I'm going to struggle with this list because 1, it's Flesh Tearers, and 2, it's super different to what we would normally run. So he did have Rights of War here, but he's not allowed to have that because it has to be a Blood Angels one. So I guess we're going to have to score it without him having Rights of War either. So I guess like objective holding is probably like a 6, right? It's like really weak. How's this list going to do against hordes? I mean, it's probably going to do fine. You've got those grav cannons, you've got a bunch of bolters from the Terminators, you've got essentially like Seth, and if we did at the moment, what did he say was in the drop pod? It was like the Chaplain, the Apothecary, Seth, the Ancient. So I mean, I guess you get like 20-30 attacks out of there on top of the Devastators, which are like 4 shots each. So I think it's okay. I don't think it's amazing. I think it can kill some screens, but not that many. Maybe it's actually an 8. Against anti-vehicle and monster, I mean, you'll be able to kill monsters just because you've got so many Terminators. Thunderhammers, Lightning Claws, Chain Fists, and you'll be able to probably kill some monsters or vehicles with the Null Zone on Seth, but it doesn't have sort of like any heavier shooting. So I guess like if you're gonna have to close the distance across the map and you're gonna get shot a lot, then you're potentially gonna have some problems there. So maybe this is like an 8-5. Mobility wise, it's a bit lower as well. Terminators obviously are very low, and once you've dropped that drop pod, the rest of your force is kind of low mobility as well. So I'd probably say like it's a 7 for mobility. And then specialization, yeah, there's just too many points in characters. And yeah, I mean, maybe it's a 7 again there. So it's maybe a little bit harsh. Like maybe this list will do better. Like maybe this list would actually do okay and it would score reasonably well. And I'm not super familiar at playing Flesh Tearers, but I think that there's no way to deal with the fight last rule either here. And I guess if you don't get that drop pod down, you're going to have some problems. And the Terminators aren't mobile. So, yeah, it's a strange list and there's too many points in characters. So thanks for the list, Thomas. I'm sorry if I didn't do you justice. Maybe on the battlefield this would play a lot better. And maybe you can let me know, in the comments or in the future, in the Facebook group or the Discord, you can let me know, like, it does a lot, how are you getting on with it? maybe something I said would be useful. Like I think the company veterans, a chaplain with the canticle of hate and the icon of the angel, and then Seth, and obviously maybe the company veterans with like lightning claws and storm shields. Maybe that all dropping down would actually be stronger, and it would save you some points, which you could then get to get like another squad of troops, or you get like a whirlwind in there, or you get like a Redemptor Dreadnought. They're always great to have. Something that can just maybe hold the backfield and add a little bit more to your overall game. So hopefully that's useful. It was quite a bit different from what I'm used to, I guess, in terms of lists. Excuse me. Okay. So, list number 5 today is a member list, and this list is from Mark Fairbrother. And I didn't say earlier, if you enjoy the content and you do ever want to become a member of the channel, you can do that now, just by clicking this join button here, and you can see the perks and stuff that we have available for membership. And cool. Mark F. And yeah, we've got a lot of Blood Angels content coming up this week. I think I mentioned it at the beginning, but maybe just mention it very quick as well. So tomorrow is game against Sisters of Battle, and Tuesday is going to be looking at some competitive army lists. So it's going to be a busy week on the channel here. So cool. So yeah, let's check out Mark's list. And did Mark leave me any text about the list? Alright, he did. Yeah, so I guess we'll go over the list first, and then we'll read his text after. You know what, I should probably do that for all the lists, because then it makes it easier to understand. Mark. Alright then, here we go. As I said on the stream, this is my submission for review, John, my competitive Blood Angels list featuring the one and only Commander Dante. And then Mortem Etheria. What does this mean? Is this the name of your list? Death from the Skies? aka challenge accepted Dante in a competitive list. Okay, so I mean, I like Dante. I just think the chapter master on the bike. What's the rating? What's your rating beat the high watermark? I think the highest list we had was one of the tournament winning lists, and I think it was a 46.5 Rezio. So, alright, we start with Commander Dante, and he has a Heroic Bearing, and he has an Infernal Pistol, the Axe Mortalis, and he's the Warlord, and he grants us 1 CP, because that's what he does, because he's the Imperium Lord of the Regent Nihilists, or something like that. And I am going to quickly flick over to Dante's rules, because I don't run him anymore. So let me just remind myself, he does get 1 free Heroic Deed, doesn't he? And what else does he get? He's -1 to hit all the time, and he gets 1 free Heroic Deed, and he gives you a command point, and that's pretty much it. They made his axe better this edition, didn't they? It used to be strength +2, so they made it strength +3 and -3, 6 attacks. So he's not bad. Let's jump on to the next, right? I'm not going to take any points off for picking Dante. I'm just going to recommend that you look at the chapter master on the bike, because he's going to save you 10 points and he's going to be stronger. We're gonna work out if he is stronger. I mean, I already did that video on Christmas Day. I feel like it's another drinking video, so we'll do a drinking video on this. Alright, and then we have our Librarian with Null Zone, Psychic Fortress, Icon of the Angel, and Jump Pack, and Smite. Oh, no one ever lists Smite, but yeah, you obviously get Smite. So Psychic Fortress and Null Zone on the Librarian, sort of the core picks, and then our Sangri Priest, who has the cheap Apothecary, and he is the Selfless Healer, so very standard there. And then I guess this is a battalion, so in the battalion we have 3 Infiltrator Squads, all with the Helix Gauntlets. Wow, I don't know if I've seen anyone ever take 3 Helix Gauntlets and 3 Infiltrator Squads, but that gives you so much board control. That's kind of disgusting. So I guess I guess we'll think about this, but yeah, that is a disgusting amount of board control. And I guess the Helix Gauntlets just making them super survivable as well. Elite wise, we have 5 Blade Guard veterans. I guess these guys will probably hold the middle, along with something like a Judicar who has the Visage of Death. So we're basically... Oh, and he's got Selfless Valor. Interesting. So Judicar has our 6-inch Heroic Intervention, and then he has the Visage of Death. And I think this is the Judicar that was getting run by Tabletop Tactics, right? Because I think that... I'm sure this was what Tabletop Tactics were running, where it was like they had the 6-inch Heroic Intervention, and then he has the Temper Mortis, and then he also is -1 to hit, and he removes Obsec. And then 5 Sangri Guard, all swords, 5 Vanguard veterans, all Lightning Claws and Storm Shields. Jump backs are out here. Yeah, alright, sorry. I was looking at the points cost and getting confused. 3 attack bikes, multi-meltas, 6 Inceptors with the plasmas, and then the Whirlwind. Okay, so I guess we've got everything we need in that. We've got Null Zone, we've got Fight Last, we've got Overwatch Denial, we've got Inceptors for clearing screens. I would have liked to see some more Sangri Guard, but I mean 5 I guess is fine, because we do have those 5 Blade Guard veterans in the middle of the board, and then they are backed up by the Judicar, and then like we have a lot of Infiltrators, and then obviously the Priest and Librarian as well. So yeah, this is an interesting loadout, right? Like if we talk about... We did a video recently on the top 10 units for Blood Angels, and I think every single unit here is in the top 10. Maybe the Blade Guard veterans didn't feature in the top 10, but they were like number 11. They are a great unit as well. Okay, so the battle plan. Let's read this and then let's see where we go. The idea behind this list is to sit some resilient units on objectives and try and dissuade the opponents from charging me. Shooting me is fine, as I can drop more units to hold things reinforced as needed and threaten some punishing retaliations when they do push forward. Like secondary objectives, I would choose Oath of the Moment and Domination if there's 5 objectives on the board, otherwise probably going engage on all fronts and Relentless Assault / Oath of Moment. The third secondary objective I'd keep flexible depending on my opponents / the mission, although I'd probably default to raise the banners high if no other objective looks tasty at the time. All HQs are chosen for their ability to be force multipliers for the rest of the army, not for their ability to be good in a fight. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are picking HQs to be force multipliers, right? I mean, if they can do both here and be a force multiplier and be good in a fight, then I guess that is a great bonus. Infiltrators ideally deploy midfield objectives or close to them in cover if possible. If not possible, then backfield objectives. Helix Gauntlets purchased for additional survivability. Guerrilla Tactics available if needed. How many CP was this list starting with, actually? 10. Okay, I mean, that's a very good amount to start with, I guess. And, you know, the Infiltrators can help with it all fronts. Whirlwind also deploys on the backfield objective out of sight in any way possible, and its main purpose is to frustrate the opponent's ability to threaten forward by targeting key units with suppression fire. So if they choose to and they really want to charge me, they will fight last. And as I said this week, the Whirlwind doesn't really do any damage, so yeah, you've correctly pointed that out. Attack bites are mobile, small reaction firepower to start hidden, then move where needed. Sangri Priest, Judicar and Blade Guard veterans deploy ready to push forward and hold attack midfield on foot. Priest buffs Blade Guard with the 6+++, ability to heal 2 models per turn and resurrect 1. Judicar hangs back a little bit, but within lookout sir range to threaten 6-inch heroic interventions or deprive enemies of OBSEC, as well as causing fight last. In an ideal world, this represents a resilient punchy core with the opponent won't want to charge, which means I'm intimidating them away from objectives. Librarians and Sangri Guard and Vanguard veterans all deploy out of line of sight to threaten counter charges, or maybe in deep strike reserve if terrain is truly awful. The Sangri Priest can break off as required to the Blade Guard to support the Sangri Guard Vanguard veterans, provide proves necessarily useful. Librarian's main purpose is to threaten null zone, making enemies vulnerable to think about it twice before wandering into countercharge range. I'm not completely sold on the Librarian, as it means I can't take aboard the Witch if facing Thousand Suns Grey Knights, and swapping out for a first pack Chaplain is also an option. I mean, the Chaplain is nice as well in that you can get the sort of like bubble against mortal wounds and stuff like that. So I guess something like that. Dante and Interceptors, who could be combat squadded if they're needed, all deploying Deep Strike reserves. Dante's primary purpose is to buff the Interceptor's shooting and also to support other forces. Break off where needed. 9-inch aura on Dante gives him significant flexibility to grant reroll ones with the right positioning, as an 18-inch diameter bubble is bloody huge. I could buy one extra relic for someone, but I'm not really sure what it be or for whom. I'd want to stick to force multipliers over beatstick characters as a general principle, unless there's really compelling reason otherwise. Having said that, Artificer armor for the Sangri Priest is a bit tempting. The Priest is for buffing and supporting, not fighting. Yeah, I mean, in a few games I felt like I could have really used the Sangri Priest to come and join a fight or something, and he doesn't do any damage as he currently is. So I can understand why some people would put a Teeth of Terror on the Sangri Priest. So like the combat could be going on for a turn or something, you just need a little bit more oomph to finish it off. Sangri Priest can join with his 8 attacks on his Teeth of Terror. That can actually be quite decent, and keep him out of combat until you need to do that. Or Armour Indomitus as well is possibly just as good as Artificer armor. The extra wound might help a bit. Not sure what I do with my last 15 points. Could swap units of Infiltrators for heavy Intercessors. Could buy small upgrades, I don't know. All the CP for days. All the tricks and rerolls and interrupting melees you could want. Go nuts. Yeah, maybe a squad of heavy Intercessors, and maybe even the squad of heavy Intercessors having Quake Bolts would be interesting here for your last 10 points. And that would, still start you with 9 CP. Then anyone that ends up going into close combat can get that +1 to hit. The heavy Intercessors do have that 42-inch rifle, which I think is pretty good, like strength 5 -2 damage. I think it's pretty good. I think the Judicar is chronically overlooked for holding the centre. I mean, I used to use a Judicar a lot. I haven't used him so much since I don't think I actually used him once since they reduced Temper Mortis from 6 inches to 3 inches, but I think that if you have the Selfless, what's the name of it again? Selfless Valor, then you're absolutely fine there. You'll basically be able to, a unit within 9 inches fights last, even if they charge you, depending on good placement of the Judicar. I'm the opposite. I like the list other than the Blade Guard and Judicar, just not for my Blood Angels. Yeah, I mean, some people, I think the Blade Guard work well with Blood Angels. I think a Judicar works well with Blood Angels as well. So I've got no issues with those. Yeah. So I guess it's a different style from my play, right? Like you want to use the characters as force multipliers. I still want my characters to get in and do a bit of tussling, which is fine. It's just a different play style. And then a lot of Inceptors within the 9-inch heroic bearing bubble, and the jump units are a little, like the Sangri Guard is a little small, I guess, but maybe it's fine. I mean, you're going to have a smaller Sangri Guard when you're bringing 6 Inceptors, and they are 55 points a model, and I guess that's just what you have to do. Okay, it's really well done. Resi allowed my doubts, but it's pretty awesome. Starting the Dante Audiobook, thanks for pointing out Blood Angels Commander, pretty cool so far. Yeah, the Dante book is great, Will. I'm going to read it again, actually, after I finish Solar War. And then I'm going to do a video on Dante, probably. Because because I haven't done like any lore videos yet on the channel. But yeah, I get what you're going for here, and I mean, I think it's fairly well balanced. And if you want, if you want force multipliers, then I guess you've got them. You've got a solid 500 core points of shooting. I mean, technically, I suppose with Whirlwind, maybe it's a little bit more shooting than 500, but I mean, you do have a lot of those Inceptors, and they are expensive models, and there's nothing you can do about that. And yeah, I mean, for me, I would prefer. Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably just going to try and score it, and I'll probably try and score it based on the fact, like you said, it's force multipliers. I don't know if you need to, like, starting with 10 CP is crazy to me actually right now. 15 CP through the game, I mean, I guess that gives, like you said, that gives you a lot of rerolls and stuff. But I honestly think some of the strongest things we can do now is get all those heroes of the chapter and get those relics and get those angels artifices and stuff down on our other units, right? Give me a second here then, because I want to see if we can at least talk a little bit about let me think. Yeah, the epic deed stratagems that Dante gets access to then, right? Because he gets to play an epic deed for free. And last time I checked, I believe there was only 2 epic deeds, right? So you can only, let me double check. Where the feck is the stratagems? Epic deeds. You can do angel sacrifice. That's it. So the only 2 stratagems he gets access to are angel sacrifice and what's the other one in the Space Marine Codex? It's only in death does duty end, right? Yeah, so he basically, if Dante dies, he can either fight last or he can fight one more time. If he dies for free, and or he can sacrifice himself for free. Well, it's not really that you've stumped me. I just wanted to put together something out of curiosity, right? So let's talk about a captain. And because you guys really like your jump captains, like you've we're going to talk about a captain for a minute here. And a captain with a jump pack is what? 85 points plus a jump pack. He is 25. So captain 85, jump pack 25. We're just going to make him similar. So we'll give him an infernal pistol, and that's free for a captain, is it? Yeah. So the infernal pistol is 0, and we'll give him a thunder hammer because why not? And a thunder hammer is 20. Yeah. All right, and we want to make him as good, if not better, than Dante. Oh right, so we want to make him a chapter master. That's going to cost 40. And then we're going to give him the Angel's Artifice, which means he gets a 2+ save. Doesn't it? You're making me doubt myself now. Angel's Artifice. He uses a 2+ save and he gets +1 wound, +1 toughness. So, +1 wound, +1 toughness, right? So basically we have this captain who is now... Come on. Regular captain. So he's toughness 5 and he's 6 wounds, right? So he's got the same number of wounds as Dante, but he has what? 1 more toughness. And points wise, we've got 80 plus 25 plus 20 plus 40. So he's actually 5 points cheaper at the moment. So he's 170 points. But we've had to spend what, 1 CP here? We'll put minus 1 CP, right? You obviously like Heroic Bearing because you like the 9-inch bubble, so let's just give him that. Heroic Bearing. So that gives us our 9-inch reroll bubble. So that's, again, similar to Dante, right? That is his Warlord trait. But then we take Angel's Exemplar. And that gives us 1 more Warlord trait, so we take Gift of Foresight, which we've just talked about how amazing Gift of Foresight is, right? So, if we compare him up against Dante, he gets a couple less attacks, but he can reroll 1 hit and 1 wound every turn, which we can obviously use on his Infernal Pistol, which is pretty strong on the Infernal Pistol. Obviously in the opponent's turn we would use it on his Thunderhammer. And then we can reroll a save every turn. And yeah, I mean, I guess again that would cost 1 CP. So you would start on 7 CP rather than 10. I mean, to me, it's the same. You know, like if I have to compare the two, the toughness 5 is huge against the toughness 4, especially like up against Death Guard and stuff like that, where your toughness 3, that's horrific. You'll be wounded on just about every weapon on like 2s or 3s, reroll 1s, and then against like multi-meltas, which are super common right now, you go from being wounded on 2s to wounded on 3s, and I know you're saying Dante's minus 1 to hit, right? But like for me, I always find, I guess maybe you don't charge Dante into combat as much, but I like to get my character in there. And I guess if you're fighting up against something like Khorne, where there's like a lot of like chain fists or power fists, they're minus 1 to hit anyway, right? So Dante gets literally no bonus to his minus 1 to hit. Doesn't make him really any more useful. If you think minus 1 to hit is better than plus 1 toughness, then I will shut up and we will score the list. But I don't agree with that. I think there's plenty of ways other factions can get rerolls to hit and stuff like that. It's so common. I don't find the minus 1 to hit really grants him very much at all. At least in the games I played. And I probably ran Dante like 8 to 10 times in 9th edition. But yeah, I mean, I guess it is what it is. I just wanted to compare what a captain could look like if you really wanted to preserve the heroic bearing, and yeah, it's to me it's interesting. Do you know what? We'll do a video where we fight them against each other, and you'll actually see the difference. So that'll be coming up on the channel. So cool. And someone asked, do I prefer him with an Infernal Pistol over a Storm Shield now? I think so. I mean, if you could give this guy a Storm Shield and he would have a 1+ save, right? And then he would actually... But then you lose the Infernal Pistol. So yeah, it's... I just think, do you know what? I think the main thing that I see here is, like, Dante is not good enough for a Chapter Master, right? Like, he's actually 5 points more expensive than this guy, and I actually think this guy is stronger. I guess your 5 points could be that +1 command point, but really, I don't really rate Dante at all right now. I think that over the course of the game, the 10 reroll saves is like so much stronger than anything that 10 reroll saves and a 1 higher toughness to me seems like a lot stronger than just -1 to hit. And -1 to hit is about equal to +1 toughness. Yeah, it's about equal probably, Reziel, but then how many enemies get to reroll hits? And then in close combat, how it's I suppose it's reroll hits versus reroll toughness, isn't it? No, I'm just trying to throw out my ideas, and we will do an actual video breaking that down a little bit more, because yeah, I mean, I'd love to run Dante. He is a cool model. I just don't think he fits my playstyle right now, but if he fits yours, then that's great. Okay, so let's score. And I guess, like, with 3 Infiltrator Squads, all with Helix Gauntlets, and the Judicar with Visage of Death, I guess, like, in terms of, like, raw OBSEC, you're probably going to have, like, a 9-5. Like, I don't really ever score 10s in boxes, but, I mean, it's pretty cool. Or it's one of the strongest things. I guess it's one of the strongest things, I think, or it's probably one of the strongest OBSEC lists that we've seen. Against Hordes, I mean, you've got those Inceptors, the massive squad of them. You've got the Whirlwind as well. So, and then, I mean, I guess all these Infiltrators could shoot. The Sangria Guards could shoot. I don't really count the Blade Guard veteran shoots, because it's just bolt pistols, right? Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Julian. I prefer to take my Chapter Master with the Feel No Pain as well. But I guess, like, in terms of this list, he wants the 9-inch heroic bearing so that he can do the Inceptors. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? So yeah, I think you're probably right up there as well on anti-infantry, anti-hordes. Like, you had bikes as well, didn't you? I don't know why I skipped over the bikes. Yeah, okay, so we've got bikes as well. And I know the bolt guns don't do much, but it is 12 shots per turn as well. So, I mean, against crap horde type armies, 12 shots is potentially 12 kills. The bikes are also a good target for Chapter Master rerolls, because they can zoom off and do their own thing. So there's that. Vehicles and monsters, maybe there's a little bit more weakness in here. I mean, we've got our bikes, we've got our Null Zone Librarian, we've got smaller Vanguard vet, we've got smaller Sangria Guard. I guess Blade Guard veterans and the Sangria Guard kind of struggle a bit against Dreadnoughts. I guess I noticed that a bit against the Custodies, right, where it's like they're just doing 1 damage against all those Dreadnoughts. So maybe there's a little bit of a slower score here. But I mean, it's still fairly decent. I mean, 6 multi-meltas, we still can shoot those plasmas into high armor power. Sorry, we can shoot the plasmas at high power into armor and do fairly decent, just because the number of shots they'll potentially bring. I guess the average from the plasmas would be 4 shots per model, and you've got 6 of them, so you're looking at potentially still like 24 shots into armor on high power. Again, I guess if it's Dreadnoughts or Death Guard, the -1 is a bit of a problem. But overall, it should be good. And yeah, you can use the hit and run to shoot when you fall bikes back. I mean, that's a stratagem that I decided not to use last week, because I didn't need to, because I knew I'd won the game. But I mean, it is a good stratagem to use with the bikes as well, to keep them busy. So I guess it's probably like a 9, but maybe it's a 8-5 if you're up against like Death Guard. Or Dreadnoughts heavy, but I mean, I guess probably 9. I mean, the way that I do it sometimes is I look at the number of 3 damage weapons that you have in the list, and I guess you have none except the multi-meltas, right? Oh, the Judicar sword. No, I think that's 2 damage, isn't it? And it does mortal wounds on 6s. I think it's +3 strength minus 3. I don't think the Judicar's sword is 3, right? It's 2. Yeah, it's 2 with 6s doing mortal wounds. So yeah, I guess you are a bit short on 3 damage weapons. So I mean, we've scored all the other lists against 3 damage weapons as well. So I guess having none of them, I guess maybe it's like an 8-5. So you will struggle maybe a little bit against certain armies, but for the most part it seems pretty strong. Yeah, the Vanguard veterans can hit armor with the Melta bombs, but I guess up against like monsters like Mortarion or something like that, you might struggle because you don't have anything that does 3 damage, so everything's going to be 50% reduced against something like Mortarion. I think I'm going to be fighting Mortarion actually, not this Monday, but next. I think Monday the 5th, so I guess we'll see how I do up against Mortarion, but yeah. I mean, I guess your Force Sword is D3 damage, so you potentially have 1 3 damage weapon. But, I mean, it's random, right? It's D3, so... yeah, I think 8-5 or something. Mobility is generally very good. We've got the Judicar and the Blade Guard that aren't mobile, but they don't really need to be. The Infiltrators are obviously mobile because of their stratagems. The Whirlwind, again, isn't mobile, but it's got 10-inch move, so... I think mobility is just as strong as any of the lists we've seen today. I think the list that we scored 9.5 earlier, everything was mobile, bar the Whirlwind. So maybe it's like an 8-5 or a 9 again. I was going to say it's about 250 points, I guess, that's not mobile. So maybe that's... I think it's an 8-5. I mean, the Infiltrators, you can't guerrilla tactics them all the time, and but then, you know, you've... Maybe it's a 9 because you've got so many damn CP to begin with. And then finally, Specialization. So... I think I think the one thing that I don't like about the list personally is like the characters don't seem strong or survivable. So I guess like as long as you're okay not getting those characters in, then maybe it's okay. But yeah, it's yeah. Thanks for tuning in, Albino. You skipped on 3 damage weapons as deliberate 1 damage with weight of attacks. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's that. I think you're gonna get like a 9 for Specialization. I think it's fine. I mean, I think the characters are... I think the characters could be stronger in my opinion, or at least the Chapter Master could be stronger. But I think in terms of like a solid battalion with a lot of CP to begin with, then this is really up there. And also, so it's got solid sort of stratagem or strategy, sorry, for the maps. But yeah, you know, like 6 months ago I was pretty much running very similar things to this. But like I've just moved away from it, and I guess I moved away from it because in my meta it wasn't winning as much as I would have expected it to win, right? So it's a solid list, but it's not 100% what I'm going after at the moment, Mark. I suppose it feels a bit Alpha Strikey in that like you would drop down your Inceptors with Dante and you have to do a ton of damage, and if they don't do a ton of damage, then I feel like you could be countered, and yeah, it'd be interesting to know just if we did shoot all those Inceptors at like my chapter master, like how many, like would they be able to kill him or would they not be able to kill him? And I guess that's the difference, right? Where like you just have a really tanky character that's like running around, causing problems and surviving till the end of the game every game. But yeah, I mean it's just a different strategy. So Colin's using Mortarion next time I play him. Yeah, he's made a new list, so that's coming. So I mean, I think you do score the highest list of the day, Mark. So congrats on that. I think it is a solid list, but I mean, I just really wonder. You know, I can probably do some math and just work it out, right? So 6 Inceptors, if they come in and they're just going to shoot, let's just say they're going to shoot a character on high power, right? So they get 4 shots per Inceptor, so you get 24 shots. Let's say you play Descent of the Angels, so that you hit on 2s. And let's say you re-roll your 1s as well, because why not? So hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s right now, I can get that from any dice, I think. Let me put that into any dice. Roll a d6, re-rolling 1s. That's 1d6 at least. So you hit 97% of the time, right? So that's nice and easy, times 0.97. So basically you end up with 23 hits. You wound on what'd you wound on? 3s, because it's strength 8. So you wound. So the chapter master needs to take 15 saves. So chapter master taking 15 saves, and he saves on a 4+ because it's an invulnerable save. So 7 go through at 2 damage. So then he gets to reroll 1. So I guess take off a half, so it's basically 7.1, and then you would feel no pain on a 5+. Feel no pain on a 5+, so it would be 0.6666. So I guess like if you brought all of the plasma inceptors down and you shoot them all at the chapter master on high power, we get the average number of shots. And you've paid Descent of the Angels, and if you've got your reroll 1s, you kill them by a couple of wounds. I mean, that just shows you just how nuts strong that Chapter Master is. Because that's 330 points of units plus rerolls. So, I mean, you can do it. You can kill the Chapter Master, but I just wonder how... I wonder how Dante does against that. Do you know what? We can work it out as well, actually. You can work out if the yeah, so what do we say? You get 24 hits. Dante, you only hit on 3s, but it's reroll 1s as well. Let's bring that up. So Dante is 77% chance, so 77 go through. Dante, you wound on 2s. And then you save on 4+ as well. And then you times 2 for the damage. Yeah, so I mean, like, they do like 15 or 16 damage against Dante, against where the Chapter Master they do 9. I mean, it's a lot. It's a big difference. So yeah, the Chapter Master is like 60-70% more survivable. But I mean, I guess if you're gonna run them as a force multiplier, then that's fine. So congrats on the highest score for today, and I think Highland, you weren't far behind. Your list was pretty interesting. The Vindicator Destroyers are pretty great, I think. I certainly like the 6 damage Vindicator Destroyers. I just do wonder in that list if there was 2 there's not a lot of clear, right? Like you've got the Vindicator Claser destroyers that will kill everything else, but you don't have the flexibility of the Inceptors being able to like delete out full squads and stuff like that. Okay. The Inceptors will hit on 2s and reroll 1s. I haven't tried the Judicar myself, but I'm yet to see a video where he was able to be used effectively for Blood Angels or much else. Maybe people don't know how to play him. He just seems underwhelming in videos. I think you need to take Selfless Valor if you take the Judicar, Jason, because his aura range is only 3 inches. So you need the Selfless Valor to be able to heroically intervene 6 and then use his aura. Yeah. The Whirlwind Strat, I found the Judicar underwhelming, hence I went down the Chapter Champion route. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you have a Whirlwind, do you 100% need the Judicar? I mean, having 2 ways to make the enemy fight last is definitely strong in Blood Angels, and that we do a lot of our damage in the fighting phase. But there is a question mark around that. Okay, so yeah, thanks for tuning in today, guys. Sorry if a couple of times we got stumped today. Bit of a different list there from the Flesh Tearers, which was really hard to score. Like because I'm just so far removed from that sort of list, and I also think I do think. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe my advice is not super useful on the Dante situation, but if you're just looking for a character that can go out there and kill and be more reminiscent of what we had previous editions, then I guess the Chapter Master on a bike, or even a Chapter Master with Angel's Artifice, is much more interesting. And also, I want to know how you guys, I'm not sure how much experience you guys have fighting up against Death Guard, but with the new Contagion rules, and they're -1 to toughness if you're within 9 inches of them or something like that. It's absolutely brutal, and I would say that the characters, having your characters have higher toughness than 4 is like, that's make or break. It's because Death Guard now have so many plagued weapons, everything's getting reroll 1s. So if they're going to be able to wound you on 2s or 3s reroll 1s, you can almost just say they're wounding you all the time. It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. I'm a bit scared to fight Mortarion, to be honest. I think it's going to be the same. It's kind of horrific. Like, he's so difficult to kill, and you don't really want to be heroically sacrificing your main characters. I mean, you can angel sacrifice characters, right? But you don't really want to be having to do that just to keep a squad alive for like one more round of combat. Yeah. I don't know. I worried a lot about the toughness 1 removal from Death Guard. And I mean, it did hurt a lot of my units. Like, once the Contagion was up, they start shooting your units, they start close combating your units. Your units just drop a lot quicker. So I think Death Guard are almost a core counter to Blood Angels right now, right? Because we need everything to be in combat, and they just love everything to be in combat because of the Contagions. So Death Guard, I think, are one of our hardest matchups. So yeah. I guess, yeah, we'll see with what happens with the Dukari and the poison weapons, and they can totally ignore toughness. So yeah, we'll see very soon. I guess as more codexes come out, they always tend to be a bit stronger, don't they? So yeah, hopefully we'll get some games against them soon, and we'll see all the ins and outs as well. So I guess Null Zone Mortarion is probably going to be the plan, if it's even possible. I mean, Mortarion is a Psyker, right? So you can't deny it. And I mean, I guess I'll shoot him with some multi-meltas and hope that a couple go through, and maybe we'll. Yeah, I mean, my current list is maybe doesn't have enough 3 damage weapons in it for my liking either against Death Guard. It's got a few 3 damage weapons, but it could probably feels like it would want some more. So I guess we'll see. So yeah, thanks for tuning in today. It's always good, and I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. If you did enjoy the stream, please hit the like button, and if you are new here, please consider subscribing. So we're back tomorrow, and it'll be 7:30 UK time. Blood Angels versus Blood Angels against Sisters, and don't worry, we'll have my very tanky bite characters together, and hopefully, I'm actually kind of looking forward to playing Sisters, right? Because they are like just toughness 3, so I guess we'll have a bit of fun. Hopefully, I'm sure they'll put up a good game. I know that there's a lot of deep striking units coming, but yeah, hopefully we'll get a good game against Sisters tomorrow, and we'll see some of you guys in chat. Yeah, Mortarion can't remove buffs from psychic powers. Yeah, but I mean he removes all other aura buffs as well, I think. So, cool. Right, have a good rest of your weekend, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I'm sure we'll see you. We've got videos coming out the next couple of days on the channel, so I'm sure we'll see you in some of those videos as well. So, until next time then, by the blood are we made. Peace.